All right, let's try this again. Let's see if we got into the right microphones this time. Appreciate you guys bearing with us. Week 1. Checking out that audio. Whenever you're done, you're both requested. All right. There we go. Getting this all done. Let's get the Instagram queued up. Got to clean all the face grease off this thing. So for anybody listening to this on iTunes or SoundCloud, thanks for sticking in there. Of course, we'll probably have this thing edited down for you guys. So this is our Valentine's 2019 broadcast. What's up? There we go. There we go right there. Now I can see the chat on YouTube and I can see the live chat on Instagram. What's up, you guys? What's up? Everybody coming in to say hi. Where's our best angle at? What do you guys like? Do it like this. For the moment. What's up, everybody? What's up? Hey, you guys go join go join the YouTube if you can. Go hop in the YouTube. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but if you aren't subscribed, at least go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Cuz we're going to do all kinds of stuff in the YouTube channel. And the Instagram guys have been hating on us pretty bad. Today, we're going to talk about Valentine's Day and probably a bunch of other shit if JC and Howard ever get their act together and come in here. Look at this. Oh, I can't. Why can't I turn my screen around? Friend of Man. What's up, dude? I miss you. You guys go follow Friend of Man. Good buddy. Oh, there we go. Look, empty chairs. Empty chairs. Shut door. They're scared. They're scared of the live stream. They don't want to come in here. You guys know, I want to wait for them before I get into this. But, you know, how long do we really want to wait? Going to talk about Valentine's Day, where it came from. You guys know where it came from? And a lot of other cool stuff. In the meantime, We'll kill some time. Hope all is well, man. I hope all is well with you. Everything's good for me. You know, life. I took a microdose of LSD this morning and forgot about it. And that was kind of weird. I was like walking down the sidewalk over here where we work to go get a boba tea. And I was like, oh, what the fuck was that? It just kind of kicked me in the dick when I was walking in to go get some boba tea. So can't count how many times that's happened. You like just go pop a little microdose in the morning and then you forget about it by the time you get to work and you're like, oh, damn, what happened? I forgot. Got to be careful with that. Yeah, man, the struggle is real. The struggle is real. You guys ever done that? You ever pop a little microdose at like 8 a.m. and totally forget about it? And like you're walking around at work at 10:30 a.m. and you're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Yeah, Messy Pen, you're gonna have to get the fuck out. I don't know who you are, but you don't belong in here. I don't have time for you. Get the fuck out of here. There we go. Okay. You know, I used to be a lot more patient with trolls. I was like the most patient dude ever. And, you know, it doesn't really ever pay back, you know, just to sit there and let people abuse you and act stupid. We'll just kick them out. What do you say, guys? Just get rid of them. Shake them haters off. So what's everybody up to? We're going to wait on Howard and JC to get in here. We're going to talk about the pagan origins of Valentine's Day, because that's kind of what it is. Today's Valentine's Day 2019. By the way, I hope everybody's having a good Valentine's Day, you know, if that matters to you. If it doesn't matter to you, then, you know, I just hope you're having a good day. My girlfriend and I don't typically celebrate Valentine's Day, you know, like to us, we feel like it's just kind of an excuse to take your eye off the ball like 364 days a year and not do what you should be doing, if that makes sense. So we don't typically make a big deal out of it. But she did something really cool for me this year, so, you know, she kind of went rogue. We can... Oh my God. All right, guys. What do you want to get into first? You guys throw out some questions. We'll open up with some questions. You guys throw out a few questions and we'll kill some time before Howard and JC get in here and we get into Valentine's Day. How's that sound? How does that sound? We can talk about ancient civilizations. We can talk about how my tripod's not wanting to stand up. These funky ass little tripods. Dolores Cannon. I don't think I've heard of Dolores Cannon. Who's Dolores Cannon? Tell me about that. You guys tell me about a better freaking tripod too. I used to love this thing. Submissive sex. I don't know much about it, to be honest with you. I'd be happy to talk about it. Sexuality is a big part of a robust and healthy spirituality, I think. Can be. I think you can do it without it. Obviously, a lot of monks do. But I think that if you're a sexual person, having a healthy sex life is a big part of having a healthy spiritual life. What effects does it have on the soul? I think submissive sex is just like, just like the opposite. It's just a different vibrational state to get your mind into. And so exploring these different states of consciousness, these different vibrational states has an impact on you. You know, you see things differently, experience things differently. But I don't know much about it, really. Have you been able to astral project? If so, how can I improve myself? So I don't know how to astral project. I've never been able to do it. I've kind of tried, kind of half-ass. But I'll tell you who you should check out if you want to do that. If you want to look into astral projection and a lot of that other kind of stuff, Plasmaborn369 here on Instagram. If you guys are on YouTube or iTunes, go check out on Instagram. Look at Plasmaborn369. It's my buddy Jason. He's up in the Northwest somewhere. Anyway, he's a phenomenal dude, and he's big into astral travel and interdimensional entities and all that stuff. And he can tell you all about how to interact with those different realms and interact with those inner sort of states of mind where you can do all this crazy cool stuff: astral projection, lucid dreaming, all that. Go check him out, Plasmaborn369. By the way, I'm going to keep doing this periodically, but you guys please go check out the either the YouTube or the iTunes or both. Wayfinder Podcast on iTunes. Still the Shamanic Philosophy channel on YouTube. We're getting hated on pretty hard by Instagram, so I need to try to divert as many of you guys over to the other platforms as I can. Hey, Shay, who are you talking about? Ilham Omar? Who is that? Since I don't have JC here, I can't Google stuff very readily. Ooh, origins of the shaman. Origins of the shaman. So let's talk about that. The origins of the shaman. Somebody wants to know about that. That's an interesting thing to talk about because we don't really know what the origins of the shaman are, and we don't even can't say what the shaman is. What is a shaman, right? So for that, I'm gonna stop looking at these questions so I can focus for just a second. So cultures all over the world have had shamanic traditions and rituals and practices for as far back as we know in the historical record. So people have been entering visionary states and interacting with the spirit world for as long as we know that humans have been doing anything outwardly expressive. So as long as we have cave art and we have trinkets and jewelry and, certainly before pottery and stuff, people were doing shamanic stuff. And so you can look at, first of all, the word shaman is a Tungus. There's the Tungus tribe in Russia and Siberia. That's where the word shaman comes from, is the Tungus tribe in Russia. It's not a Native American word. It's not a word that any Native American or African people heard before, the last 150 years or whatever. So the Tungus people use the word shaman to describe their holy person. Let's just call them a holy person. And that's actually where the word shaman came from. So the Native American people, most of the Native American people would have called him something like a medicine priest. Of course, there was voodoo doctors and witch doctors and all kinds of other medicine men and stuff like that. Sages and mages and I don't know. Pick your flavor, pick your vernacular. So shaman have been around forever. I think that's because to some people, and certainly in certain states of mind, to most people, they realize that as human beings, we inhabit a spirit world and we inhabit a material world. And the shaman are the people who seem to be able to readily sort of move between these two different worlds or to reside in these two different worlds consciously and knowingly and intentionally. And a shaman is someone who has one foot in the spirit world, one foot in the material world, and knows it and knows how to maintain that balance. And then beyond that, knows how to help the tribe around him and the other people find and maintain that balance. That's what a shaman is. And so there are hundreds of different tribes and different cultures around the world throughout history who have had shamanic practices and shamanic individuals at the center of their tribe. And one of the neat things about shamanism is that no two shaman are exactly the same, either within one tribe or within 2 or 3 or 10 different tribes. So out of all these hundreds of different shaman, some of them have certain practices and some of them have other practices. Like some of them may interpret dreams and they may lead the hunt and they may pray to the gods for when to plant the seeds, right? So that's one shaman, like the Navajo shaman may do that, but then like an Apache shaman may do something totally different. And then, an Australian Aborigine shaman doesn't have anything to do with dreams, although is sort of a common thread with shaman. But anyway, shaman all have slightly different roles based on their tribe, and it's sort of a spiraling relationship that a shaman has with the tribe. So there's JC talking about the origins of shamanism.
Oh, right on.
JC's here, guys. Say hey to JC. Say hey, JC.
Hello. Hey,
Yeah,
everybody.
I flipped it around. There you go.
Oh.
So, so these different cultures, different shamans did things differently, and so I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like, did the shaman? You know, I guess there was probably just a tribe of wandering people wandering around the plains at some point in Africa, and they were just like, one dude woke up, ate some mushrooms, and he was like, "Hey, man, there's a spirit world around us, and I know how to get there. You guys need to check this out." He became the first shaman, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then other tribes kept doing it all around the world, and you just had lots of different shaman doing lots of different things. Some of them were fishermen. You know, some of the tribes were people that lived off fish, and so your shaman may have prayed to the ocean gods and tried to find out where the fish were.
Yeah. Well, we have this conversation a lot, and backstory on it is that nowadays we classify people in these people that are in tune or function or frequencies are different than ours, right?
Mm-hmm.
They operate on a different level. A lot of times they'll be alienated in our culture or labeled as different in. You have a disability. You have, all these different
That's
things
such a good
we
point.
put
Yeah.
on, and so I think a long time ago, people were less judgmental in the sense that if you were different, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing or you were lesser than, but we embraced that. And these people that had the ability to have insight and understand emotion and different things because they were just beating to a different drum. They were
Mm-hmm.
wired differently.
That's it.
Uh, they were built up. They were found useful.
Yeah.
Versus cast aside and lesser than, which we tend to do with people that can, operate on a different frequency than we do now. And, those people got put into those roles.
Yeah, because it's like those tribes a long time ago, and some of them very few that still exist today. They understood that there isn't just one frequency. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we live in this society where there's just one. There's one frequency. You know, there's not 10 frequencies. There's not a whole spectrum of frequency and possibility. It's like there's a material world, right? And there's matter, and everything that's vibrating within this certain range of frequencies. You know, this table, that wall, we can see it a certain way. You know, the ice cubes in your glass, whatever. That's
Mm-hmm.
matter. We can see it, touch it. It's there. That's it.
It's a compelling argument.
It is.
It's measurable.
It's measurable. But when we start talking about things that, you know, there's some 14-year-old kid and you start seeing things that aren't there, you're like, hey, cut that shit out.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
lock you the fuck up.
Yeah.
Throw some pills down your throat quick.
They'll medicate you and set you apart from everybody else.
Yeah. And, you know, that's the thing is, you know, like a lot of the Native American tribes, and that's kind of one of my favorite. Oh, Sungaze is in here. What's up, Sungaze? You know, the Native Americans have always been sort of a fascination for you and me both, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah, although tribal culture and shamanic cultures all over the world are fascinating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know everything there is to know about all of them.
Well, being in North America, born and raised.
Yeah,
Native
born and raised
Americans
in
is
Texas.
Kind of close to the.
It's a proximity thing.
Yeah.
It's close to home. But, you know, like in the Navajo tribe and stuff, like there was, you know, I was reading some old like journal or a diary from some old Catholic priest in like the 1500s that was out there with the Navajo. And he was like, he said, or maybe it's a Zuni, it was somebody in the Southwest. And he was talking about, he said, suicide here is such an absurd concept that people literally laugh if you say, I'm going to go kill myself. They didn't get mad. They didn't get worried. They didn't sit you down and have a talk. It was like, oh, I'm going to go, you know, shove my foot up your ass. It was just such an absurd thing
Mm-hmm.
because mental health was a whole different thing, you know, in these different cultures for the reasons that you're saying.
Yeah.
So instead of people getting ostracized and cast out and medicated and whatever else, there was an openness to the possibility that these people really were seeing things that were not, that other people didn't have access to, but it didn't make them unreal just because they weren't visible to everybody else.
Absolutely. And I mean, some people, just like anything, some people were full of crap. Some people really had something going on. And I feel like truth recognizes truth. And then ultimately these people that served a purpose that was different, that's where that role comes into play.
We'll take 2 of those. I was just showing these off the other day, but I'm going to do it again because I love them. These coasters. Hold on. Oop. Where's my camera? There's a flower life. Which one do you want?
Give me that. Om.
You want the ohm? Here, I'm showing the ohm. Here's the ohm. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
I'll take Metatron's cube. Blammo. Howard, you want the flower life or the Sri Yantra? Okay, perfect. Is this the one I took home in my backpack the other day?
Maybe it was one in front. Potentially.
Yeah, I'll take a cold one if you don't mind. All right, so Shay, friend of man's asking, is their doctrine rooted in sacrifice? Which doctrine? The Navajo and Zuni I was talking about, because theirs is not. They were not a sacrificially, that I'm aware of. They were not a sacrificially driven tribe. They were extremely connected to nature. Oh, no worries. Thank you. Oh yeah, it's much colder. Cheers, guys. Happy Valentine's Day to the both of you. Yeah.
Happy Valentine's.
So no, the Zuni and the Navajo and those guys were not they did not practice human sacrifice that I'm aware of. Super linked into nature though. They believed, among many other things, obviously, that nature and humans had a reciprocal conversation or a relationship, and that whenever nature fucked up, it made problems for humans, but whenever humans fucked up, it made problems for nature. And this is at a time before industrial, intrusion on the scale that we would think of existed. So they really thought that human consciousness had an impact on nature.
Yeah.
And people started really living wrong. It fucked things up, and yes, that's why they would find it funny about suicide. But again, my only point there is just that as far as mental health goes, you didn't have those problems in tribes that accepted people with a different range of awareness and sensual perception. There's a TED Talk called Shamanic Breakthrough or Nervous Breakdown or something like that. And it's this dude that went around the world studying all these different shamanic cultures. And he was like, there's a few commonalities, like common denominators between all of them. But one of the biggest ones is that almost all of them around 13 years old or so started having like a psychotic break. They started, or what we would call in the Western society, like a psychotic break. And they would start seeing things that weren't there, hearing voices or whatever. And then the shaman in their tribe would identify that or whatever. They'd be brought to the shaman, and the shaman goes, okay, you have the gift. And they would take that person in, and that person would become the spiritual leader of the tribe. Now, it's easy for us to look at that maybe and just say, well, so they embrace mental illness. And it's just a convenient way of taking a mentally ill person, sticking them in a teepee at the end of the village, and then just forgetting about them. But the really fascinating, the reality of this is that these people that we consider mentally ill that would be so easy to write off in that way are like the centerpiece of the entire tribe. And some of these tribes have existed for thousands of years, or at least many hundreds of years as a culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're building this is a spiritual leader of their tribe. It's like this person's kind of like the lawmaker from Norseman. You know what I mean? It's like you don't question these people. They're usually so holy that even other tribes, when they would invade each other, they wouldn't attack the other person's medicine priest. But these people almost universally would be people that we would consider mentally ill.
Why do we assume they're mentally ill just from a psychotic break and based on our definition of it?
We got to use some definition.
Yes.
I'm using the definition. I'm saying that the people that see things or hear voices in our society are usually considered mentally ill and medicated.
If you came to me tomorrow and you said, JC, I can talk to spirits, I can see them, there's one floating around you right now, and I wasn't as open to the conversation and I was just the average Joe, yeah. I would go, oh, we need to get you some help.
I think my question, sorry, just based on, I walked into whatever the heck you were talking about.
Yeah, of course.
My question was, you said TED Talk and all these historical things talk about kids having psychotic breaks. But that doesn't necessarily...
I probably used that word wrong. Well, I shouldn't have said that.
I would say that doesn't
I would say symptoms. Let me say this. I'll be very specific, actually. I was just getting lax. Very specific symptoms of schizophrenia.
Okay, so like this is documented. Like people are getting actually okay.
Yeah, this dude, like I said, he's a doctor. He's been doing, he's an anthropologist and a neuroscientist, and he's been studying this for 25 years all over the world. And hundreds of cases of shamanism. He goes and lives with these tribes and hikes up into the mountains and shit, and spends time with the shamans and learns about them and documents them. He did a TED talk, and 99% or 100, I think maybe he might have even said 100% of the shamanic people he encountered would be labeled mentally ill or medicated, like they were outright schizophrenic.
They were unstable, I guess, by today's words.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Whatever they would call it. Yeah. Certainly disorderly, mentally disordered. Schizophrenia, seeing things and hearing things that aren't there. This is a time I want to bring up a thing that I always think about with schizophrenia that I've mentioned before. Is do you guys know that schizophrenic people have problems with their eyes?
Elaborate. Problems with eyes, like vision issues, or just
they have problems with their optic nerve in their eyes, and their eyes don't. This is where one of those things where like is the causality on the biological side or on the mental side or whatever, who knows? But
talking about the jitter.
The jitter.
Oh,
the jitter.
I was aware, but I just assumed that came from the whole I see things other people don't. But I guess who knows?
No, I think it is. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think, first of all, I didn't know that was a thing. Like for 6 months ago, I learned this, right? On probably one of those podcasts you sent me or something, things you need to know or whatever it was. And I was watching that movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves in it. And he's got that buddy, that the bald guy with the jittery eyes.
I always go to Constantine for all of my historical references.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best historical documentation I can think of.
Source.
Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
Sorry.
So his bald buddy, the priest guy, I think he's a priest. He's able to like scan the newspapers psychically and feel and read the. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, no, I've seen Constantine.
Okay,
it's been a while.
Yeah. So he's able to
things and it's coming back.
He's able to psychically scan these newspapers and stuff and like see the murders and all the victims and all the things, and he can see it, right? But he can also see things that aren't there, and he wears this talisman to protect him or whatever. Anyway, so I saw that guy with the jittery eyes, and then I heard this thing about schizophrenia and the jittery eyes and all that stuff, and the optic nerve thing. It just makes me wonder, like, are these things? Are they produced? Fuck, there was a third leg to this that I can't remember. And I think it might have had something to do with John Nash from A Beautiful Mind, The Economist. There was some sort of eye thing and whatever. Anyway, my point is, I think that there's some sort of possibility, just like the third eye, the pineal gland oscillates at a certain frequency, and they think that big injections of DMT may change the way that it oscillates and help you tune into other dimensions. I think the optical nerve has some sort of tie into that with the schizophrenia thing.
I know nothing.
I lost a lot of my thunder by forgetting the third leg of that whole thing, or the third point to that whole deal.
I'm just incredibly uneducated on what schizophrenia is.
It's fascinating to think, though, if the jitter or that optical nerve issue is associated with most cases of schizophrenia, does schizophrenia come out of having that? And do you develop schizophrenia because you have this alteration, or is schizophrenia causing?
Where is the causality?
Yeah, it's back to the chicken or the egg.
Chicken or the egg thing.
Yeah,
I guess that's it. It's kind of like the argument of is our brain the generator of consciousness, or is it a receiver of consciousness? Did we just eventually at some point become biologically complex enough that consciousness just sprang into our 8-pound meat sack in our head, and all of a sudden we're thinking, talking apes that can drink beer and build supercomputers? Or is there a consciousness that's being broadcast throughout the cosmos, and depending on your cerebral configuration and your level of biological evolution, you're able to eventually tune into greater and greater or more and more different ranges of that cosmic consciousness that's broadcasting? Howard's like, I don't even want to fucking have this conversation.
Yeah, because you're lining me up to say define consciousness, and I don't want to go there. That is a 3-day conversation.
Yeah, but that's what we do here.
Oh man,
we define consciousness and shit. That was one of the questions I have for you.
I haven't had a beer. I can't define consciousness.
Well,
because I don't know. yeah, you say consciousness and like, oh, at what point critical mass did we reach consciousness? And I go start thinking about, well, we're conscious, cool, or we all assume we are, and then what else is conscious? And they still haven't figured out how to test that scientifically. Like they don't have a test. So the next best thing that everyone likes talking about is the stupid mirror test. Like, oh, can you recognize yourself in a mirror?
The self-awareness. And
yeah, it's like, is that me? And it's like, all right, dogs, dolphins, some sort of parrot, maybe. Like they're
gorillas.
just random animals. Yeah, some gorillas and monkeys, but maybe not all. Like these things can recognize themselves in a mirror as best we can tell, because they can't tell me they see themselves in a mirror.
Yeah.
So it just define consciousness.
Well, I was like, made me think of that Coco the gorilla. Like somebody on some stand-up somewhere, they were like, how come nobody ever asked the fucking thing if it wanted out? You know what I mean? Like, do you want to get the fuck out of here? You know, I think it was Bill Burr. Or no, yeah, I don't know who it was. Anyway, but is that one of those kind of things? Is like we don't have any animals that we can actually communicate with well enough to
know if it's real communication, or
right?
We just taught it to respond,
right? You know, but we did have a gorilla.
All right, cool. Now we can get to my part. So this is all just a Turing test.
Okay.
And we're all computers, and everything's a simulation, and we're all just trying to trick each other into believing we're not computers.
Is that what you believe, or is you just throwing that out there?
I mean, I think that's the most convenient answer to all this.
That's scary.
Yeah, we are. Well, and it also dovetails with your idea of, I mean, potentially is something broadcasting consciousness? Is something broadcasting our identity? Well, if this is all simulation, we are being broadcast to via creation, and whatever our creation is, which is a simulation. So, yeah, like why is that? That's just the more convenient answer for me than
I've had some at least one really intense experience. I was on a psychedelic mushrooms pretty heavily, and I ended up in a back door, if you will. And that's, if you've ever done psychedelics, it's easier to understand what I'm saying. But I kind of felt like I was breaking a little bit of the simulation, and I got a little bit intimidated by what I was seeing. And then once you come back from these things, you can only keep so much of it. But then I started to research and understand this whole simulation theory. And the more that I learn about it, the more terrifying it is. And I can't remember specifically what exactly I was experiencing, but when I get onto the conversation of simulation, I go back to that like moment.
Uncontrollable panic.
Yeah, just like in my trip where I was like, oh no, I'm in a place, because I've done a heavy dose of mushrooms several times. And there's just one time specifically where I felt like I was somehow traveled into a different part of wherever it is that you would say you are.
Neo.
Yeah, that's it.
I was definitely in a room full of TVs.
Have you seen Westworld?
The TV series?
Yeah, the new one.
Like the first half of it.
The first half,
of the first season.
Of the season.
Yeah, I lost HBO.
So you get the concept that like they take the people that the robots that live there, call them robots, the hosts or whatever they call them. They take them, and then they after they get shot or killed or whatever, they wake up or they bring them into a lab and they repair them and all that stuff. I had an experience one time on mushrooms where I woke up in the lab.
You're making me never want to go near mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, I did it to myself.
Horrendous.
It's a long story. It's a long story.
Yeah.
But that was all my doing. I was
okay.
Well, I was trying to get there, and I got there, and then I didn't want to be there.
Me and him have a problem where when we go under, we've done it enough times to carry a little bit of our wits about us than say the first few times that you ever do it, and you're a little bit overwhelmed by just, you've never seen anything quite like it. Once you've seen it a few times, you get to that beginning stage of it, you can then start to push and ask a little bit more questions and really start to think about things. And sometimes you ask questions and you get answers and you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't ask that question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wanted to know that. But then you don't get to keep 100% of it. You just get to keep, normally, for me, not speaking for everybody who takes mushrooms, but an emotional response, something that somebody says will trigger a feeling, a surge that sticks with you. And sometimes when you're in there playing around in the psychonaut mindset of I'm gonna go deep, and I'm going to ask different questions, and my intentions are going to be this versus just along for the ride. Sometimes you end up in places that are just they're bizarre. I mean, I don't really know. There's not a good vocabulary for any of this conversation, which makes it tough to talk about.
But there are definitely places that you get to in there where there are doors that you could open that you can you can almost like touch the door and feel it's hot. And you're like, I don't want to go through there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I've been to those places where it's like I got to a door and I was like, there's a question that I'm asking about the universe. There's some big existential thing about my reality. And I'm like, there's a door with the doorknob and fuck it. No, I don't want it, you know, because you can get a sense of.
It just sounds like you're triple dog daring yourself to have a mental breakdown.
It is. No, it totally is.
It can't. Yeah.
No, it can totally do that. But that's the thing is,
I'm gonna break the fourth wall real fast in this conversation. I still haven't figured out where this thing should sit.
I like.
I'm making auditory hell for anyone who's
No.
like,
No,
You can't-
actually, there's really no.
These microphones are so dope you can't hear anything.
Oh, okay.
I can't hear you messing with
I
it.
feel like I need to go.
Like I feel
Go
like I can
low.
hear myself tapping it. I want to like somehow get it right. Can I invert this thing? Does it come off and go upside down? Because if I can hang it right here.
It'll turn.
Yeah, if you unscrew that big silver
This one?
right there,
Yeah,
you'll
turn the
get a
thing
little
upside
bit.
down.
But be
Well, no,
conscious
well,
of the wire.
Ah.
But you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. You know, you're flirting with well, and
You're flirting
trust
with
me,
insanity.
trust me, I've been there where I asked the wrong, or I went down the wrong thought process under psychedelics, and really had a hard time grounding myself back. That's
Yeah.
that's what you need a trip sitter. That's what you need a shaman, somebody there to remind you and ground you and bring you back when you do get kind of lost in the ether, which doesn't happen every time, but it can and will happen. That's why that whole trip sitter thing exists.
Yes.
You have to do things responsibly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, everyone watching just got to watch me play with gears like I'm an idiot. Now I feel cool. Now I'm just.
It just
hugging
looks so
myself.
damn awkward.
Yes, but it's not beneath my nose, and I'm very aware from many hours on live mic with other people that I breathe loud out my nose. And so here I can just get real close to it.
There you
and
go.
freak
Fair
people
enough.
out.
This thing's actually pretty good. It's got popper stoppers on it.
No, it does. I just very
Um,
afraid I'm ruining someone's life.
We're gonna get to Valentine's Day in a second, guys. By the way,
Do we have to?
yeah, we're going to.
Okay.
It's
We're
a
going
good
to.
topic of conversation.
It is.
Considering
We're gonna
the
sign out of
date.
here at 5, so 5 Central. So we got an hour and 15 minutes left. So yes, you guys can throw some questions out. JC, I'm gonna put you in control of the camera.
Okay.
And the questions because my ADD doesn't let me manage this responsibly.
I gotcha.
I've just been flipping the camera, beep, 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 between
Gotcha.
me, y'all, whatever. Oh well.
Do you need to retangle that cable?
No, we got it. We got it. There we go. That way you can field the questions.
Sure.
And I don't have to sit there and stare at that thing.
And I don't have to be on Instagram.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll call this an open discussion, and we'll also we've got some bullet points that we'd like to hit. So hit with the questions. If you've got a good question, bring it on.
Yeah. I've been watching Game of Thrones all week. You know, whenever you're going to you're coming home from the grocery store from work and you got to pee really bad and you're afraid you can't make it home and you're sitting in traffic and you're like, I'm going to pee on myself. And it gets worse and worse and worse. And then by the time you get to your garage, you're just certain you're going to piss all over your living room floor on the way there.
That's like every day I go home from here.
Right. And it gets worse the closer you get to home, right?
I think it's my anxiety. Like I want to be home.
Yep. I'm getting that with Game of Thrones. The closer we get to the freaking date, the more anxiety I'm getting over it, the more obsessed I'm getting with it. The more I can't stop watching YouTube videos about absurd theories.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a healthy relationship with a TV show.
No, I'm losing control of that relationship, man. Starting to become.
To be fair, that anxiety is why I stopped watching. Circa season 3, I guess, is because.
So you really
The
did just
show-
stop watching?
Yeah.
I did not know this.
I didn't either.
You
I
never-
thought you were still in.
You never went. You haven't gone full.
No.
Okay.
Read all the books. I read all the books.
Okay, so you know the story, because I feel like my whole point with going too deep into Game of Thrones is, yeah, you can go too deep in a unhealthy relationship with a television show, but a great story is a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the books are written in such a way that you can go just as deep with that story as you want. Or I know people who swear they skip whole character arcs, because every chapter in the book is the title of the chapter is the character's name who it follows. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
if it's suddenly switching to Tyrion's point of view, it's just called Tyrion. And I know people who either just skip all the Tyrion chapters. It's like, I don't care what he's doing. Or they will go through the book and read the one character the whole way through. They're like, oh, next chapter. No, that sounds like, nope, that's Arya. Okay, nope, that's not.
Really?
Yeah, they'll find the next Tyrion one and they'll read all Tyrion and they'll go back to the beginning of the book and read it the next person. And they'll just keep doing
I can't imagine wanting to read a book that way.
It's an interesting concept, but I've been waiting for all of the TV shows to be done and some crazy madman to edit all of the scenes.
Star Wars machete.
Yeah,
remix,
and just cut all of Arya's stuff together, her whole thing, and you can just go boom.
Watch the Arya movie.
I wouldn't watch the Arya boom from start to finish.
Jesus,
more enjoyable because I would get to skip the horrendous stuff they put in that show.
Yeah, they did put a lot of horrendous shit in there.
Yeah, which it's easier to read. I mean, I think that's the point. You're reading the book and like it's horrible to read sometimes, but okay, there's a story here. Having to watch it, this is a level of anxiety that like I couldn't deal with. So yeah, because season.
We're coming into season 8.
Whenever the Red Wedding happened was about the point I started falling off in the show, and it wasn't long after that I just gave up hard.
And I'll precursor real quick while we're on the subject of this.
Yeah,
let's do everybody a favor and try to postpone any major events or in details for spoilers.
I'm about to give season 7 away right now. I was just going to read the whole script.
Oh man. Okay.
Just got it on tap.
Get fucked, guys. This is what you get.
My phone's
you should have already seen this.
By the way, how does 3 p.m. on Thursday work for you guys?
Yeah. Feedback on that will be great.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out. I want to do like a 10 a.m. morning show, 10 to 11.
You just want to open a radio station out of this office.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Why not? We have such a great studio.
Yeah. I think once a week we'll do a special episode. What?
When did the pyramid show up?
Look,
so
it's glowing.
When did it start lighting up?
I turned it on this morning.
Is it salt?
Yeah, it's Himalayan salt.
Oh, okay.
It's ionizing our air, making us super vibratory beings.
I feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it. It's just it creates this glow. So Valentine's Day.
Also, it looks like we're sitting under an altar because of it. I just looked at the YouTube cam for the first time.
Oh yeah,
it is under
it is an altar.
A triumvirate altar.
Yes.
Now I'm weirded out by it. It doesn't look that glowy in real life. Like that looks like light is coming from the wall. Like that looks like a door into an alternate dimension. And there it looks like salt.
Yeah.
So we bought our first salt lamp. They had got a few, and everybody's talking about them, and they're quite trendy nowadays. I'm pretty sure we got one at $5 Below at one point.
Yeah, they're selling for like $3.
Yeah, you can get a salt lamp.
I got like 10 of them in my house for $20.
They're very trendy. I remember we got our very first salt lamp, and my daughter goes, "Why do they call it a salt lamp?" I said, "Because it's made of salt." She didn't believe me. She took a big
lick it.
Lick that thing.
Turn her face inside out.
Come to find out, a salt lamp is actually made of salt. It's very salty.
It's not just a marketing gimmick. Like it's legitimately salt.
It doesn't look like a big hunk of salt.
Yeah. No, it tastes like it though. It tastes like it. Do you guys know where Valentine's Day came from?
I'm gonna keep derailing this conversation.
Go ahead. We're here to be derailed.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day came from Hallmark.
Hallmark. There we go. I'll talk about
that. Yeah. John Valentine, the owner of Hallmark. That's
really
where it started.
Name?
No, but that's what JC said earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, John Valentine started Hallmark. Him and his cousin, Jimmy Halloween.
Yeah.
Got together with their Uncle Patrick.
Yeah.
And they created these holidays.
Yep. And that was it. Were you gonna derail it for real? You got to talk into the microphone.
Okay.
I'm just. You did it wrong.
I did not.
You flipped the fucking thing upside down.
Where is the pickup on it?
If you you got to talk directly into it.
Is the pickup on the top?
Yeah, that's it. Well, no, it's. You can talk into it from any direction, but you got to talk into it. You're talking beside it, like.
Oh, I am talking beside it because I'm getting real close and I can hear myself, and
that's perfect.
I don't want to hear.
I want to hear your sexy voice.
I don't think anyone else wants to hear me.
We all want to hear you.
Yeah.
Now, what were you going to derail it with?
Literally anything. I don't know. I was going to talk about mushrooms or some of these books, or the pickup's right there.
We have
good enough.
We have books. I got
what do you have up there? The Dead Sea Scrolls, Native Science, Original Wisdom,
the Book of Celtic Myths.
Yo, can I steal that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
I'll take that home.
Have a look at that.
That is right up my alley.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. So I'll bring that back, and I'll bring something else up here to replace that one on the set.
I'll
You
swing
bring,
by Half Price Books and get you something from the occult section.
I got yeah, you got me was it for my birthday or what was it? Christmas? You got me Christmas. You got me a couple of books.
Saturnalia. Yeah.
For Saturnalia.
Candle Nights.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, those are a couple of native science books. Healing Secrets of Native Americans, Original Wisdom, Native Science, and then I just happen to have the Dead Sea Scrolls next to Terrence the Astronaut.
Pretty good collection. Is the goal eventually to have this entire shelf full of books? I know
No,
the people at home can't see the entire shelf because part of it's beneath the table, but
yeah, you can't see it all.
I feel like this is going to be an ever-changing.
Yeah, it's gonna. I just gave you a book, and then I'll replace it with another book.
I think you should rack and stack the bottom part of the shelf, and then just kind of move things up as you feel
Shift them.
necessary.
Well, the problem with bringing any books up here at all is that I don't have these books at home now. You know,
Well, do with ones you've read.
Well, but see, with fair enough.
I mean, maybe not a reference book that you keep referencing, but
yeah,
I can't believe that you're going to read the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry.
No, but that's exactly a good example of like that's a book that I would just randomly grab,
just flip
at 11:30 p.m. when I'm really stoned, sitting at the house and like nobody's home, and I've watched all the Game of Thrones episodes 55 times. Like I'm just gonna go flip through an Encyclopedia of Freemasonry and learn some new spells or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, new ceremonies or rituals and some weird shit to do.
Well, on ceremonies, rituals, and spells, let's get back to Game of Thrones.
Oh
my God! He did not come back to Valentine's Day. I was like,
that's okay.
Damn it, JC!
I could do this all fucking day.
He's gonna re-rail us.
No, I'm not. I'm going Game of Thrones.
Where is
we got distracted terribly because we realized you have not seen all of them, but you read the books. So
and then you said don't give away any spoilers, and I was like, oh shit, I better not talk.
Well, here's a better thing: define spoilers, and I don't mean that. And let's have a logical. I mean, like, what is it? 2 years old? With more than 2 years old in Game of Thrones world. So what? Season 5?
Yeah.
Nice. That's a hang up mode.
Yeah. Just hit decline.
Yeah. What? 2 years?
For what?
For Game of Thrones. Like, how old on the internet does something have to be before it is out of spoiler territory?
That's JC's.
Can I spoil Toy Story 2?
That's JC's world.
Honestly, he's this community of people that are watching this, I don't think anybody's going to be terribly. This is not a movie review or a television review show.
But even more, they may be coming here for social and spiritual advice, and they're like, "No, I expected you not to talk about the end of Parks and Rec."
I don't know, man. I think you're
talking about the rules.
I'm pretty unapologetic here,
and then we should get a piece of paper and put the rules up.
I'm pretty unapologetic. We kind of do what the fuck we do.
Yeah. Now, well,
we try to be courteous, but like, you know what I mean?
So just liberal spoiler warnings. I'm tell you what happened at the end of season 8.
Yeah, that's
if we were to talk about the end of Parks and Rec and how Ron Swanson became a vegan and Leslie Knope, just
switch to the Republican Party. Switch to the Republican Party. And
switch to the Republican Party. Exactly. Started.
She actually worked for George W. Bush.
Became the campaign manager for George W.
Okay.
She was behind him.
So
what mission accomplished?
What happened to Thrones?
Thrones?
Yes. What were you going to say about Thrones?
I just wanted to get back to the conversation. You said you've been watching it a lot lately.
Yeah, well,
it's been giving you an intensity.
It's just been it's been ramping up the intensity, and I'm just sitting here thinking about all the crazy shit that's going on in that show, which I can't talk about now.
Yeah,
but
I can talk about something because I can talk about things that are pre-season 4 at least.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it by now, I don't care. When watching shows like that, how much do you and even you, JC, watch them for enjoyment versus like watch them and find yourself analyzing occult references? Because I think the average person, throwing it up right here, watches it and goes, "Oh, that's a weird like occult ritual. Like they did that thing." And then I'm like, okay, that probably pulls from a couple different things, but whatever. That's real cliche, stereotypical. How much do you walk away and go, "Oh man, they messed up the 7th ritual of Saint Valentinus"?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I'm just curious.
No, to me, it's a freaking great question.
Because to be fair, I do that with like video games. Any show that a video game shows up in, I'm like, oh, they're gonna do something with video games. How bad are they gonna make fun of nerds? And then at the end of it, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I don't know. I walk away with my judgment, and it can taint the whole show for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, with Thrones. Or any like fantasy fiction like that, there's a tremendous amount of artistic license they can take. So they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. Like I appreciate it. Any reference, like with that they drop in there that has some sort of grounding in reality,
Mhm.
you know, or occult reality, whatever.
I mean, the whole thing is based on the War of the Roses in Europe. So
Is it?
yeah, you're staring at me like you didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that.
I did not
Yeah,
know that.
George R. R. Martin, like
No,
War
I
of the
know, yeah.
Roses was pretty sure he's referenced multiple times, was a pretty strong reference, and the whole Westeros
Yeah.
is England in theory. And
Really?
then the other continent is Greater Europe. Like, I mean, there's you just look at
Oh,
a
fuck
map
me.
and there's kind of some similarities.
There
No,
are
I'm already
similarities
seeing
to
it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Westeros is shaped roughly like a big square.
So
I
yellow
just
dot.
always pictured Westeros being massive, though, so I couldn't
It
ever
is.
imagine that.
I
I
thought
mean,
it was
he's
more
not
of
the
a, like
size
a
of
like a
England.
Pangea
No.
type.
Right.
Like
Me too.
just one
Yeah, but
great
then there's
continent.
what do they call the sea in the stupid show? I forget what they call the
The
sea.
narrow sea.
The
or
narrow
something.
sea,
Yeah.
but that's the
Mhm.
English Channel.
That makes sense
Well,
because
shit.
crossing crossing the
shit.
narrow
Like-
sea and crossing the English Channel.
Imagine
things
with
happen.
horses, like, oh, that's an undertaking, but it's not impossible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could get an army across there.
So,
You wouldn't want to.
the War of Roses, for somebody who knows nothing about it, do you have any bullet points? I mean, what time?
What time
A
period is this?
bunch of people in Europe killed each other. That's about the extent of what I know.
Oh, fair enough. Fair
I
enough.
think War of Roses might be Tudors. I'm shooting in the dark. Now, this is the point where you just stare at your chat and have
Wait
people
for
correct me.
wait for
Yeah.
somebody to tell us what the fuck we're talking
Someone
about.
will live correct me and get this wrong. I should know better. I went to George R. R. Martin's like museum thing, and George R. R. Martin gave his entire like collective works collection to A&M right before I graduated.
Mm.
And so like if you go to the, I don't know, I remember this stupid library's name, but it's essentially like a museum.
Yeah.
And you go in, you go to the second floor, there's just a lot of George R. R. Martin stuff, and like you can go in and go to the archives and reference all of his past docs and works. So like I think his original manuscripts might be there.
That's
And
crazy.
he came and did like a 2-hour talk before the airing of the second season, back
Huh.
when I was watching it. So
Wow.
anyway,
That's super cool.
so I should know more. I don't.
Let me ask a question about Game of Thrones in
Yeah.
general. Is what do you think? Other than, I mean, the production value and the cast and the story is great. What about it though is so attractive to? It's compelling to talk about to anybody that's into Game of Thrones or not into Game of Thrones or has read the books or seen the TV shows. What about that story and what in it is so? I mean, if you just take one part of season one, the very end of season one,
That's exactly what I was saying.
the very end of season one, and how they let the season go, not necessarily the last
just
scene
say
with
it.
Daenerys, but with Ned Stark.
Yeah, Ned Stark getting beheaded is what makes everyone like Game of Thrones.
And you go, what is this?
They
Like,
kill the protagonist and tell you there are 7 more seasons.
yeah. And but why? Why is that attractive? Why they've strung you along and then they have ripped your guts
I've got an
out.
answer, but I don't know if I can make any sense of it. As usual.
Go for it. We'll
So-
navigate.
So think about the hero's journey. Howard, is that something you're familiar with?
Mhm.
Concept of the hero's journey.
Yeah, it's very Greek.
Right. So in The Lion King,
Okay.
The Lion King is the story of Hamlet,
Mm-hmm.
which is the story of the hero's journey, which
Mhm.
is sort of, yeah, we're burping.
Beer
Beer burps
before-
at the same time.
Beer during podcast. Learning bad idea.
Yeah, I have to switch to that scotch. Oh,
No, not.
grab that scotch. Let me show.
We'll show it.
We'll
have to
get
show-
to the scotch later.
Yeah.
We got that as a gift. Kevin's not here right now. You guys
Yeah.
got to meet Kevin the other day. He got us some scotch.
But Hero's Journey.
So, hero's journey. So,
Your great epic.
yeah. So that is like that. The hero's journey is what's ingrained in our DNA. Think about it that way. This is sort of my esoteric occult bullshit woo woo sort of take on this.
Oh, I'm gonna let you know right up. I disagree.
It's fine.
Yeah,
You don't even know what you're disagreeing with yet.
well, I do. I disagree with the idea that the hero's journey is ingrained in our DNA
Continue.
because
We could have this. We could.
it
It's ingrained in
learned.
it.
It's learned. It's ingrained.
It's
in
learned, it's been
our
drip-fed
DNA. It's
and-
been drip fed. But like you look at non-Western story motifs and
Mhm.
you find things similar but not the same. Like a lot of stories have the same progression of beginning, middle, end. Like you can break a story down to its key parts, but like
But you can find the hero's journey in every ancient civilization that ever existed.
You
Or ever
can-
is the story of Horus and Hathor and Isis and the reconstruction of Osiris is all the hero's journey. It's Mufasa and the Lion King.
You
Hamlet's
can
actually a
find it,
5,000-year-old story.
but I unless correct me if I'm wrong, what you were about to say is like it's ingrained as like part of our natural need for that story, and I don't think it plays as big a part in other cultures as it does in ours. Star Wars, hero's journey. Like the huge, all of Marvel is multiple heroes' journeys. Like the big punch you in the face sort of things that we care about pop culture today.
Mm-hmm.
Hero's journey. I don't necessarily know that that holds true everywhere.
Yeah,
But you literally just named some of the largest properties that are
In
worldwide.
The
worldwide.
US.
Worldwide.
Star Wars not as big a hit everywhere else.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't
not at
know.
all.
I wouldn't
Marvel
know.
definitely.
Marvel, but that yeah, I used it because it's current. But like,
well,
it's,
but either way,
that's a recent part of it.
The point is
Yeah.
you know, that if you take a graph and you take story development and you know, positive energy, the pitfalls of a bad time,
Gotta have your empire.
right? You have this, right? This sort of waveform that happens over the course of a movie. That waveform happens over the course of a song, right? And the more zero balance, the closer to zero balance you have at the end of that movie or that song or whatever, the better fucking every time. The better that people are going to come out of that movie or that song and go, that, damn, that song was really good. That movie was really good. And people don't know why. But I've analyzed this ad nauseum. Like, I mean, like frantic days and weeks and nights just staying up and just scribbling out diagrams of every movie, every song I could think of, you know, when these realizations first started occurring to me like 3 years ago. And this zero balance scale on this sort of good and bad and active versus inactive, this sort of electromagnetic XY graph scale. You can put songs on there, you can put movies on there, and you can just find these, whatever the two axes need to be for that thing, you know, that media or whatever. And I did it with Game of Thrones. Was one of the first things. I showed up on JC's back porch one night.
Give me the good in Game of Thrones.
Oh man, that one's complex. But I actually found my my papers. I'll bring them to you and show you. I found all my old scribblings and stuff. But it's active versus inactive, and good versus evil. So someone like Daenerys would be all the way over on the active scale, or all the way up on the active scale, and all the way over on the good scale, if you wanted to put it that way.
Really? Daenerys is good?
Well, you can measure it out however you want. That's the thing. These things are relative, right? So you can
as long as whatever Daenerys is, her antithesis is the opposite. Okay.
Right, exactly. So like, you know,
so protagonist, antagonist.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's all. And so you can put Varys in there, you know, the Master of Spies, and you put Tyrion in there, and like how I think active versus inactive, or you could do it like overt versus sub, you know, whatever, subversive. So Varys being like the ultimate subversive good guy. You know what I mean?
That's true.
If you want to look at it that way,
it's all about spies, and I get real bored real fast and overly like, oh my god, there's too many moving pieces.
Yeah,
and none of them are actually moving. It's a lot of people planning to push their piece first and waiting for the dominoes. God, this is boring.
Yeah.
But
so I'm just saying that you can graph all these things out. You can graph out these character traits, and what George Martin has done has given you, if you graph this out, and I've done it, is you end up with almost perfect balance all over this board. And you can start drawing lines of interaction between these different people, and you know, you start to see the balance that this story has created. And there's no question in my mind he's unlocked the fucking algorithm that attracts us to it. You and I started to talk about it the other day, and I don't think we ever got it off the ground, or I never did. But like, why are some images satisfying to us and some are not, right? And like, you could reduce this down to, you know, an ink blot, right, that's symmetrical might look better to us than that same ink blot but slightly altered to not be symmetrical, where it may not even be really observable to the naked eye or to the slightly conscious person who's just like,
you can take a symmetrical ink block this way and rotate it ever so slightly, and then put another line down the middle of it and ask people, are these the same image? And they go no, and they are, just one's rotated 30 degrees. But because you put a line down it on the background of the paper, people can't see past that. They like their symmetry in their brain.
So exactly. So we have some, I guess my whole point to all this is that we have some sort of subconscious mechanisms by which our subconscious gauges if we like the way something looks, the way it makes us feel. And it happens at a subconscious level. You know what I mean? If you see a picture of a tree, like a beautiful picture of like a Bob Ross tree or whatever, you know what I mean?
Why is it always Bob Ross?
I like Bob Ross.
Household name, man.
You know what I mean? It's fucking Bob Ross.
Fine.
You know, you might see a picture of a tree that he did, and you're like, "Oh, that's a beautiful tree." Just you don't know why. It's like, I like it because it's pretty. It's as far as we can take that, as far as we think to most times, you know. But you could I would say that you could have someone, you know, a different artist recreate that Bob Ross tree, and maybe put some unnatural elements into, you know, the sort of subconscious aspects of that picture. Maybe make that tree look a little bit decayed in certain places, a little bit twisted or gnarled over here. You know, maybe create some unnatural looking leaves over here that, you know, you'd show 100 people those two pictures and they may not see any difference, but you show it to them in a vacuum and they're like, oh, I like this one better than I like this one, you know, because I think that our subconscious is working on these things. My whole point in all that is that with Game of Thrones, I think that what George Martin did was he figured out to an insane level of complexity and a high level of detail how to create the most complex exhibition of balance and chaos in a show that has ever been done. The level of detail that goes into the lows, think about Sansa Stark and what she went through, you know, think about just even in season 1, just the things that people endured, you know, even starting with Jaime pushing a kid out the window, right? The lows in that show are so complex and so low and so disturbing. You know what I mean? That you have some highs, you know, it just made the highs that much more triumphant and that much more amazing. That's kind of where I don't want to say a whole lot because, you know, because a lot of that stuff has been only in the last couple seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We just now are
We're starting to finally round the fucking corner, but we all felt it. George Martin dangled you along and you were like, this is just Joffrey's gotta fucking die. He's gotta die.
They've done a good job in the show of making him despicable.
Yeah, and then they made his death glorious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've never cheered for a child to choke on his own fucking blood. You know, as a father, it's kind of a weird thing for me. I've got a son his age.
I wonder if you read the books, if you'd feel the same. I'm curious.
Oh,
the tonal shifts are like they're there, but they're a little different.
So it makes me wonder that maybe George Martin is part of it, but maybe the two dudes are just as much a part of it.
DB Off and Wise.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, their whole thing is they have to take a whole season and put it into 12-hour-long episodes, or put a whole book into 12-hour-long episodes. I guess I can't say that anymore. We're well past the books.
Well, and I have a theory on why he hasn't finished the last books. I think he's letting the TV show do its own thing and selfishly waiting to see what the fan response is and going, oh, they like that? We'll stick with that. Or, oh, this didn't go over well. Maybe I don't do a happy ending, or maybe I don't do this ending. I feel like it's kind of a cop.
He's cheating.
Famously,
he's cheating.
Even a long time ago, he famously, like the first book came out, I swear, in like 99 or something.
No, it was earlier than that. It was 91.
Was it 91?
Yeah.
It's ancient. So
I couldn't believe it.
Screen.
I was actually pissed off.
We hit our timeline for that one. We'll go back, but
yeah, we'll turn it back on. All right,
yeah. Anyway, yeah. So okay, you say 91. Yeah, I can't remember. I remember it being the 90s.
With the wire off the table. Yeah, it was early 90s.
Yeah. So you're talking that long since first book. He's only released 5 of them, and the next one's not even the last one. The next one is like at least 2 or 3 away from being it. I don't know. I think he just has a serious case of ADD.
Yeah.
And
welcome
the
to the club.
show. Yeah, the show only hyper. Like that just enhanced it and gave him free reign to focus on the show with the 2 directors, and all of his other little side projects. He's released compendiums and stuff. Also, if he's anything like is it Robert Jordan? Wheel of Time?
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway, writer, author, passed away. But when he passed away, he had written. It's like a 13-book novel series. And when he passed away, he had written 9 of them. And supposedly he had written the ending from where he had left. 9 or 10 of them. Anyway, he had written the ending from where he had stopped through the end. He just hadn't filled in the details in the book. Like he had written the plot arc and just hadn't finished the last 3 books. But because the last 3 books of this, 13-book series they were gonna be momentous. He had to finish the whole thing in one go, kind of. And so anyway, he
That
passed
sounds
away.
terrible.
Yeah, well, so he passed away. He got sick, and his wife was his editor. And they, knowing he was going to, he had some illness, knowing he was going to die, they interviewed people to finish his work. And so the guy who finished it, who I'm blanking on who did it, but anyway, he said like, yeah, he met with him in his like last days, and dude just like, yeah, this is how this is gonna go. This is how this is gonna go. This is how this is gonna go. And as a writer, as a ghostwriter, he essentially just had to fill in the blanks of like, it was a sunny Tuesday, and you know,
Wow.
like the plot line was there already. And so I wonder if that's what happening to Martin is, especially
Ooh.
with the show escalating all this tension, if he
Yeah.
knows where he wants it to go, and he has too much stuff to fit down, and so he's writing it all and then going to release the book staggered, because he's put out like an encyclopedia, he's put out all these other compendium things, he's put out already a book of short stories. JC, no, yeah, give him the last one, make him drink it.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
That is my thought is, and I'm sure also he's feeling no stress because he set the rest of his life based on the popularity of the show. Most popular TV or most highly produced TV series ever, I think.
Thrones?
Yeah, the most expensive, highly produced, I think.
Is
they
it
said.
Expensive? The most expensive?
I think so, because I think the next season's supposed to only have like 6 episodes, and they said it's more expensive than any of the other seasons.
I'll drink the one that y'all don't want
JC
to
might
drink.
know this. That one's mine. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
JC would know this more than me.
Yeah.
Is it the most expensive?
This is the most expensive season,
and it's only 6 episodes.
And
right?
it's the most expensive season of television. But the way it's described by a lot of people is it's 6 movies. I mean, each episode has the same production value of a movie. I mean, they're $1 million per episode, multi-million dollars. I mean, you can go Friends, 6 characters. The last season, they all made $1 million a piece, and that was a big deal. That's $6 million just for the cast.
I don't know if that counts as production costs.
Well, we're talking. I'm just saying, people thought that was a big deal. We're talking, tens of millions of dollars.
Well, I think they already said like 200 something million for like the episode production. I don't think the episode production includes cast salaries. Like I think it just is cost to make it.
Well, then it goes back to the initial question of what makes it so compelling, other than it's this really good story and we get all of that and it's very well done. But I mean, if they're confident enough to spend over $1 billion on 6 episodes, that's how much money they're going to make. That's just the fandemonium. To me, it's just there's a question to be asked there about what is so attractive about mostly a horrible story. I mean, something that turned you off due to you can see it in your mind. But
at this point, I think it's just easy to say it's a zeitgeist.
Yeah,
the fact that we're having this conversation, like, oh man, what's going to happen in season 8 of Thrones, and like everyone's got to know. Like your mom will talk about it, your dad will talk about it, your dog will talk about it. Like,
I'm just saying that this shit all resonates with us at a deep level.
Yeah,
like there's a reason why art resonates with us. That's all I was trying to say earlier. Rambling so much.
This goes in with like your worldview about the resonation is everyone's resonating together about Game of Thrones
because it's fundamental. The shit in it's fundamental. Yeah,
like it could right now. The next 6 episodes could be 6 episodes of Friends. They could literally fire everyone and go hire the original cast of Friends and just say, this is the next 6 episodes of Game of Thrones. And I think everyone would watch it just because they're like, man, you got to figure out, do you see what they did to Game of Thrones? Like you wouldn't get people to stop watching.
Yeah. Whereas something like House of Cards, Kevin Spacey gets kicked off and everyone just forgot that show even existed.
I forgot that show existed season 2.
Yeah. The next season came out and it's like the chick is the only person in it. And it's like, I've yet to turn it on. Yeah, Thrones is built to resonate. It's just designed. It's architected in such a way that it hits us and we don't even know why.
It's that old saying. It's like you can see a car accident about to happen, but you don't look away, and even though it's about to be bad, it's kind of like, ooh, now watch that happen. Ned Stark dies, gets his head cut off in season 1, and you're pissed for about 15 minutes. And then you see that coming next fall and you're like, I cannot fucking wait to see what they're going to drag me through again.
Well, to go back to the House of Cards thing, like, that whole story is about Kevin Spacey and his character, Frank Underwood. You remove him from that story and all you've got is politics in Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I can just turn on CNBC.
Yeah.
Like, I need Kevin Spacey doing a very, very, very bad, kind of good Southern accent.
It's so bad.
Knocking on the table. That's what my dad taught. I can't even do it. It's just so like
he was so over
kinds
the
of
top.
drawl in it, but like he nails it with it. That's the thing is like it's so good. You're like I want to believe it. Like I've never heard anyone talk like that in real life.
That's
but
it.
I want to believe that's
I've
what.
never actually heard anyone talk like that, but I want to believe that that's
Yeah.
how some Dixie crap from South Carolina would
I
actually
had a
talk.
friend in school who grew up half his childhood in North Carolina. He just had normal Southern twang, which I'm sure
Yeah.
to anyone who's not from Texas listening to us, we probably all sound like a bunch of hicks.
Yeah, that's part of it.
Yeah.
You don't think you do, but
You do.
Oh, no.
apparently you go
You do.
somewhere else and you do.
My girlfriend's from
100% do.
Amarillo, and I love making fun of her
Yeah.
because she is such a bumpkin.
But that's my point is anyway, you remove Kevin Spacey from House of Cards and you're just left with a drama. You were left with the West Wing,
Yeah.
but they didn't build up anything like the West Wing did. So it's not as fun a show.
Yeah.
That's why that fails. Like there's something I think to tie into your hero's journey thing. Like there's something about the fantasy of it. Like it is a fantastical, epic journey that like pulls you along with the balance of character arcs.
Mm-hmm.
Something about dragons. Like I said, that whole thing is supposed to be the War of the Roses. You guys didn't even know, and you probably don't even care in reality because it's got dragons.
Well, of course I care now.
Well, now you care, but I mean,
Now I got to know everything about the War of the Roses.
it does not affect the enjoyment of the story in so much as it's just more to know. But the dragons and the the White Walkers
In
and a giant
2010?
wall of snow.
Hey, I got a bottle of Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
Called White Walker.
I saw those bottles at Specs once. Is
Yeah.
it good?
We had a
Great.
conversation. Is it a different blend?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like Blue Caliber. It's the best Johnny Walker I've had besides Blue.
So, but is it blue, or is it a different blue?
It can't be Blue because it didn't.
It's white.
I
would say.
Well, it cost
That was my thought. I thought.
It's not white, but it's but it didn't cost what a bottle of Blue does.
No.
Yeah, but I'm sure they got Game of Thrones money for putting that out, so I don't think they were hurting for the money.
Well, that's probably true. So maybe it is Blue.
Yeah, and then you get you hooked on Johnny Walker.
Yeah. Then you're like, keep searching, like, what the fuck? This black isn't doing it. The
Yeah.
green isn't doing it. The platinum isn't doing it. The gold isn't doing
Wait,
it.
is there a platinum?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, I've had black, green, and red.
Yeah.
Well, and blue, but
Yeah. It's like for me, it's either black or blue. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
You know, all the other shit's all just
Yeah, you're just gonna drink.
nonsense.
I'm a double black. I like that. Like
Oh, the double. No.
over smoky,
Never mind.
Just
The double black
mouthful
is.
of firewood.
Yeah, the double black is actually my favorite.
double black.
Yeah,
Double black.
You can't always find it, but it's not any more expensive than black.
No, it's the same price.
It's the same
is it?
price.
It's just
Smokier.
way more smoky, way more. It's got that wood flavor to it. I mean, it's
So it's like the Jack Daniels of Johnny Walker.
no,
Because Jack Daniels to me tastes like charcoal.
it's a lot cleaner.
Okay.
But it is like, to me, it's the equivalent of melting down firewood into a liquid, and
Okay,
yeah, it's
but worth it. If I see black or double black on the shelf, I should grab the double black.
double black.
Okay. What are you playing with your book?
Showing them the book that you got.
Oh,
You can't see it on that
Probably
stupid
not.
camera, guys. We're gonna get a better camera. We have a way better camera. We just couldn't get it to
I think
work.
We have 4 better cameras.
You have 4 better cameras than this, and we can't get
And this
any
was
of them
the
to work
easiest one
properly.
plug in.
Yes, the Book of Celtic Myths. Johnny Walker Double Black is great. The White Walker is good. I'll bring it up here. I think we got a couple of drams left, so go pour us each a glass.
Yeah,
But the bottle's cool because if it freezes, then on the side there's like a hidden message that pops up. It says "Winter is here."
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I saw it at Specs, they were like,
Dramatic.
you can. Sorry, I'm gonna derail the Specs up the road.
There's no rails left on this fucking thing.
No, there's not.
No.
We're never gonna talk about Valentine's Day. thank
we
God.
never had
I
rails.
mean, this thing never got
Let's
on
not
the rails.
pretend they were
There
there
was
to
a-
begin with.
There was a bucket at the front of the store, and it was full of water, and it was like, "This is a wine chiller. Drop your wine bottles in after you've paid for them, and this will flash cool them to the right temperature." And it said like within 3 minutes you could get a room temperature wine bottle to down to whatever it's supposed to be. I don't drink wine. I'm gonna show my ignorance of wine here, like in the 40s.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you guys seen this thing?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. It's somewhere. It's like they keep the water circulating, but apparently
I
it's
have
below
seen
freezing.
it. I saw it in the liquor store. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What
I know what
is
you're
this
talking
thing?
about.
Is this a
It's
normal
stupid.
thing?
I mean,
Does
yeah,
it work?
Yeah, they work.
Okay.
If you're that petty about your wine temperature,
Yeah,
you know, it's like all of our wine sits out. If you have a white wine, you put it in the fridge. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
About as much effort and money and thought as I want to put into my wine temperature.
Oh, I have in-laws who make an annual pilgrimage to Napa and stock up and then come back. And
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
I'm not that bougie.
yeah. I've had an expensive wine a time or two, and it was delicious. It was so delicious. It wasn't good enough for me to pay,
Yeah,
more than I've paid $30 for a bottle of wine, but I'm not going to pay
20 or $30 for a bottle of wine. I'm convinced you can get just as good a wine as you can get for a $200 bottle of wine.
I went to graphic design school and found out from several people who worked for these vineyards and stuff that a lot of times you're buying
The same
the
wine
same
with different label on
wine.
it. Yeah.
It's just way better packaging.
Yeah.
I mean, you're paying for
Mhm.
packaging.
I always buy shit based on the packaging.
I mean, yeah, we just talked
Like
about
that gnarly head
different
wine.
levels of Johnny Walker.
I love
and-
gnarly head. Just buy the gnarly head wine.
Yeah. Well, speaking of packaging,
Okay, I'm gonna get the Cavalin.
All right.
Kevin should have been here for this.
So I wish Kevin was here. You guys, you can go watch our conversation with Kevin. We congratulated him on becoming a father the other day.
yeah,
And
it was very adult.
yeah. So
we enjoyed it.
so you guys
Did have fun.
may or may not know, it may or may not come as a surprise to some of you, but I'm a Scotch fanatic. I love Scotch. And this is technically, it can't be called Scotch, but it is Scotch. It 100% is Scotch. And this won the World Whiskey Championship like 3 years in a row. This is Cavalin Solist Sherry Cask. I've been looking single malt from Taiwan, and you guys know Kevin up here at the office, and Kevin is from Taiwan, and he went home to Taiwan knowing I'm a Scotch guy. He brought me this fucking whiskey back, and I have been looking for this. So
Apparently, he's been sitting on it for like 6 months. Which
Yeah.
I find funny. It's just been sitting in his house.
yeah, this
And he hasn't
is
drank it.
the best whiskey. This is literally the best whiskey in the fucking world.
I don't like him enough to keep good whiskey just sitting on my counter.
I don't blame you. Yeah, I would have drank your whiskey if I went to Taiwan and brought it back for you
Yeah.
and forgot about it. I would have drank the shit
Yeah,
already. I don't
would've
like
found
you
it
that
and
much
went,
either.
"Oh, yeah, Merry Christmas to me."
Kevin has so much more respect for me than you do.
He does. He
Thank
has more
God.
respect for everyone, I think.
Yeah.
Than any of us do.
So it's got a little buckle on the side like a guitar clasp. It's awesome. Guitar case clasp. Oh my God, it's just beautiful.
This is gonna be auditory.
No, you can barely hear it.
Pretty
Anyway,
sound.
there's the whiskey that we ended up getting, and it's beautiful. We'll probably have to pour one glass of that.
I think I may pass today, but I will try it later.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I will
Just
try.
after
JC's like, I will do that.
after my tummy troubles yesterday, I'll avoid the hard liquor.
Oh yeah. You know,
It's always like a 24-hour thing. I'm like, oh, I can drink beer. it's
so
fine."
this sounds stupid. It sounds like I'm being dumb, but I'm really not.
Mhm.
And I wasn't even being dumb when I first thought of doing shit like this. But like I used to, if I felt like I was having stomach problems, I went straight to the whiskey.
Nice.
I went straight to the whiskey,
That's weird. That
and I felt like it would kill whatever was in there.
that's weird because I have like the opposite feeling. Like I have stomach problems. Keep the liquor away. Like,
Really?
it just make my tummy burble and churn.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's right, but it seemed to work for me. Of course, anytime I would get sick back in the day, that's what I would do.
Historically, I mean,
Now I turn to
strong
juice.
liquor has been used as a cure-all for a lot of ailments.
Historically, water was worse for you than mead. So I mean, we're dealing with low bars.
Yeah,
I'm just stating facts here.
Yeah, you're right. For most of human history, we drank more alcohol than we did water because it was healthier.
yeah,
I don't want to live that way.
that's fair.
I tell this story a lot. I don't know if I've told it live on podcast format, but I
Probably means
absolutely
it's a really good story.
I love it. So everybody used to get together and drink mead. That was the drink, right?
It was
And
your
so
water.
then all of a
It
sudden,
was your water.
coffee shops and espresso shops and stuff started to pop up. And so people were getting together, and instead of dulling their minds and drinking alcohol and having these giddy times and then waking up and going about their mindless positions, they would get together and drink coffee, and they would stimulate their minds. Then they would start to have intellectual conversations. Conversations would start to be had like, you know what? I feel like there's
fucking
fair
King of England's
compensation.
bullshit.
Yeah, why is the king getting all this money? We're the ones working. I've never seen him. All of a sudden, this consciousness
That's why they threw the tea in the
started
harbor.
to come about, and
Yeah,
and
fucking tea shops. I never
coffee
thought about
shops.
that. That's what happened.
Hmm.
The fucking tea party. That's why they did it. They had tea shops. What you're saying. You still go to Boston to this day and sit in the little tea shops and drink tea like coffee shops.
Mhm.
And I think it's exactly what you're saying.
you sat around sober.
I think you
you
sat
had a
around
little
sober and had a
caffeine.
little caffeine and started talking about how the fucking king, oh my God, these little liberal hipsters and stuff back in the day in the 1770s,
Yeah.
just like they are now.
You ever heard the phrase too much of a good thing's a bad thing?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't want to walk into a Starbucks and listen to what anyone in there thought was a good idea.
You don't think so?
No.
Yeah,
like,
me either.
Like I walk in, I can just
Me either.
just sit around sipping coffee all
But-
day. And, like I'm hyperactive and my brain's going wired.
But it's I always try to take, well, not always, but sometimes like try to take the I don't know, the
middle tact.
You look at like the progressive liberal type people.
One of these days I'll figure this mic out. I'm sorry. Keep
Well,
going.
we
Keep going.
can do that at any time.
Yep.
I just think the people that were sitting around coffee shops back then were the same people that sit around coffee shops now. You know, and they were typically more progressive, but back in those days,
progressive was a low bar.
Progressive was a low bar.
That's my point. Is
yeah,
too much of a good like.
Yeah. That's it.
Today, I would argue it's not progressive. It's just.
Well, it's like Ben Franklin owned a printing press. You know what I mean? Like these people were writers, and these were the philosophers, and these were the people who were sitting around thinking and talking. And until you've told me that story a couple times where you mentioned that, and I never thought about that. But the Boston Tea Party, they threw the fucking tea in the water. The tea, of all things. And that whole tea tax thing is bullshit.
I mean, the tea was like an expensive commodity they were ruining for someone else.
But see, when Ashley and I went up to Boston, we did the tea party.
They drank coffee here.
Huh?
Tea was a British thing. British people had tea time. In America,
did they have coffee back here? The same?
Yeah,
back then as they do now.
American patriots were drinking
coffee. That was a sign of it. It's like, especially after the tea party, like anyone who agreed with what happened,
never mind.
They
I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Then.
I'm gonna drink coffee. Well, I mean, it just had more kick.
Yeah,
his idea is not wrong. Yeah, they drank coffee. Coffee definitely lights your brain up more.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh well, the idea essentially just rolls around to at one point it was totally acceptable and nobody had any rules as long as nobody were asking any questions. And all of a sudden, people stopped getting drunk every night, started going home having a beverage, a social interaction that didn't involve numbing society as a whole down in a group of people. And then all of a sudden people started to ask questions, and it started to cause problems for higher ups. It started to cause issues in the chain of command and things like that, and to where they actually outlawed coffee and said, no, you can have all the mead you want, go get drunk off your ass,
yeah,
please don't go have a caffeinated beverage,
don't go have this uncontrollable natural substance that you can get from a plant that grows out of the ground. We'll Schedule 1 it. And
sound familiar?
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm agreeing with you too.
I love it.
Hey,
we got
you have to from once in a while.
I actually do have a real question for both of you.
Yeah.
Do you think the world's happier now or back when everyone was lit on mead 24/7? Everyone was 2 beers in constantly.
So because the question's coming from you, I wouldn't ask if it was coming from JC or any other sensible person. But because it's coming from you and you're hyper specific by nature, what do you mean the world? Do you mean like Western civilization?
I think the world that drink mead. No, yeah.
Right. So we're thinking sort of Anglo.
8 worlds, divided by thousands of miles. Yes. Do you think Western civilization? Man, I don't even know, because this far back, it's not even Western civilization. It's just there's not a lot of variety.
Early civilization.
Just an Anglo-Saxon, Western European.
Yeah, but drinking mead instead of water goes back to
Vikings,
Egypt.
Instead of water. I guess I see what you mean.
Equal amounts, if not more. I don't.
I hear you're spanning too much time.
I know, that's what I'm wondering. But my point being is, I'm wondering when mead was part of the diet regularly, everyone drank it without question. It wasn't like children didn't have it.
Yeah.
It was just a drink, and it was safe. I don't know, because if you put the whole world in that perspective, before 1500, everyone was 2 beers in all the time.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Maybe everybody was just a little bit better off, so they kind of had a little hefty buzz going on.
Happier. Better off is an objective thing. I wonder happiness.
Happiness.
I have this argument with my friends all the time.
Momentary happiness.
Two arguments.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that anything fermented is actually done right is quite good for you. Your gut biome, even if it's mead. A beer every now and then isn't a bad thing on your body. So I would say yes and no to having a mead all the time is not going to necessarily physically hurt you. Mentally, were people happier if they were all drinking? I think back then everybody was indulging in mead equally, and so there was less judgment about how you chose to unwind. And I think that's just part of human nature. Is some people do it with meditation, some people do it with mead, some people do it with weed.
So you don't think there was enough of it going into people's systems to actually alter their decision making on a regular basis.
I mean, tolerance is tolerance, and if you're
Yeah.
drinking mead all the time,
True.
then you're building a tolerance. So to have 4 or 5 meads every day since you're a child, you know, or 13 or whatever the
Dude, I built up a
appropriate age-
tolerance to edibles in the last week since I've been back from Colorado. I'm taking like 2 edibles a day and they don't do shit anymore.
Yeah.
And they were like bombing me out of my fucking gourd.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess I didn't think it through that far.
Yeah.
Like it.
Well,
You
just
would
yeah,
build with it.
just yeah, to play devil's advocate to the question and just kind of respond to
Devil's
yes,
advocate to my devil's advocate.
yeah.
Yeah,
Double
too many devils in
Advocate
this room.
is it's a movie I'm writing. You guys look out for it.
Yes.
It's gonna have Keanu Reeves in it as well.
Any
He's
movie-
gonna play
If
the
it
Al
doesn't, I'm
Pacino
not watching
character,
it.
any movie.
and Al Pacino is gonna be the younger.
The devil's advocate.
Also, I saw that movie for the first time when I was like 18. That movie's weird.
Don't-
Yeah, I
don't
was
watch
I
it.
was
It's-
probably around that age.
That movie's
It fucked me up.
weird.
know.
Mhm.
My friends all sat me down and they'd all seen
Maybe
it.
in a good way.
They went, "You never seen this movie?" And I went, "Nope." And they went, "Oh, here you go." And I just remember like they would take shifts watching it with me because it's not a very good movie, at least in my opinion, and apparently theirs. But like by the end of it, I'm like, "What is the point of this?" Like it's just there's
Shock and awe.
yeah, like is temptation the argument? Because I don't even know if it makes a good argument for it. Like that movie. Ugh. Anyway,
It's like the Dark Night of the Soul. You know, I think it's just taking you into it's another.
was it gritty when it came out? Was that the thing?
Yeah.
Because I think I was probably too young. I don't know when that
Yeah.
movie came out.
Yeah, I think I was like 18 when it came out. I want to say it was like a 2003, 2002.
Yeah.
I only know the trivia fact of there's a scene where
Right.
Keanu Reeves walks out of a building and he's in New York and this whole street is shut down and there's no people, no cars or anything. And that's an actual shot of that street in New
1997.
York. And they had
Oh
to
shit!
they had
Yeah, I
to
was
close
13.
down
Oh, I
this
saw it probably-
road miles up, you know, and they just
live
shut
shot it?
down this huge part of New York. And it was one of the most expensive scenes ever shot because they didn't want to like animate it and stuff. 1997,
Well,
they
it's
really didn't have the
97. Yeah,
capabilities.
knowing it's
So-
97, CG ain't gonna cut it.
But that's the one thing I always think about them is one of the most expensive shots in the 90s for sure, is because they just had to have all the police and all these different people, and everybody was just so mad about this one day. And all they needed to do was get Keanu walking out of a building, you know, up the street. It's a 30-second shot in that movie. It's the most expensive shot of the
and
entire
knowing
movie.
Keanu
Oh,
like,
wow.
took like 7 shots. I love Keanu Reeves like unabashedly, but that guy apparently is not a very good actor. He does not nail his scenes regularly, from what I hear.
Oh really?
He just
He
he takes a little build up, from what I understand.
until I knew more about him personally, I just couldn't stand him as an
I
actor.
love him.
As an actor, I was like him and Kevin Costner and Nicolas Cage, like 3 of the most non-acting famous actors of all time.
Wait.
Mhm.
Kevin Costner. Okay. Nicholas Cage is just bad
And who else?
to me.
So I would say Keanu Reeves, Kevin Costner, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And I think there was one more that I've been carrying around in my bag for years, just hating on. But when I learned more about Keanu Reeves the last couple of years,
Mhm.
I've really come to really like him a lot personally.
I love his stuff. The Lake House. It's a horrible movie. I love watching it. Him and Sandra Bullock. Time
I
travel.
don't even know if I watched it. Sounds awesome. Keanu Reeves, Sandra Bullock, time travel. I'm all in.
Well, not so much time travel as time messaging.
Yeah, it's
Want me to
it's a-
spoil the
it's a
Lake House
weird
for you?
concept.
Yeah, the Lake House from 2008. I'm spoiling it.
Yeah, go for
Pretty
it.
much, Keanu Reeves' dad is an architect, and he builds a lake house.
Tune out if you have not seen this
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, you take the next 30
Earmuffs.
seconds. Earmuffs.
Earmuffs, motherfuckers.
Keanu Reeves' dad is an architect, and he builds this glass lake house on this pretty lake. And then Keanu grows up and also becomes an architect. And the movie's cut in such a way that this gets real fuzzy, but like he moves into this lake house. Well, at the
Hey,
same
let me
time-
interject. Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Guys, go to the YouTube channel, please. Just wanted to say that. Go to the YouTube channel. Shamanic Philosophy
support the
YouTube.
arts, man. Go to the YouTube
Yeah.
channel.
Instagram's, did I tell you that Instagram jacked us for 2,000 followers?
Oh, were you caught up in the thousands of people disappeared?
Yeah.
I didn't actually read what caused that. Was it they got rid of bots, or was it they?
I was hoping it was
lit-
bot cleanup. They said it was a glitch.
Yeah, like my understanding is they accidentally made a whole bunch of people unfollow everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. My buddy Lucas lost like 11,000 followers.
You derailed my
lost 2,000.
my lake house story.
I got to plug the YouTube. I got to make sure that people go to the YouTube channel, Shamanic Philosophy, on the YouTube, and also on iTunes. The Wayfinder podcast on iTunes. Easiest way to find it.
Oh, are we on iTunes?
Yeah, we're on iTunes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Shamanic Philosophy. Or actually, it's the Wayfinder podcast
Yeah.
on iTunes, and it's Shamanic Philosophy still on
think
the YouTube.
The last time we talked, you were working on that. I did not know it existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wayfinder podcast on iTunes.
Okay.
Go check it.
And but the Shamanic Philosophy channel on YouTube has the Wayfinder podcast.
By
on
the
it.
way, you told everyone to put earmuffs on for 30 seconds, and then you did all of your pitches. So
They didn't
yeah.
actually put earmuffs
no,
on.
they didn't. Everyone
Yeah.
here has seen the
No-
Lake House because
yeah.
everyone is actually a true Keanu connoisseur.
Yeah. All right, back to your bullshit about Sandra Bullock time
Well, that's where I
traveling.
was. Keanu moved into a house his dad
Glass,
built.
glass.
He
house.
became an
house, like-
architect.
Was it
and-
literally a glass house?
Yeah, it was like a
Okay.
solid glass metal frame house. He moves into it, and
Are there
then
13 ghosts? in
and
it?
then that's a different movie.
I know.
That
I
come along
know.
the same
Sorry,
line.
Sorry.
And then Sandra Bullock moves into a house that ostensibly from all the camera shots is the same house. And then mail shows up in the mailbox and Sandra Bullock checks it and it's from Keanu. And she like writes back a message and throws it in the mailbox. Like she writes it a letter back and addresses it to him. And then Keanu goes outside and checks it. And the whole movie, they're passing mail to each other through this magical mailbox that in this house they're both living in. And then come to find out, of course, it's 2008. No, it's 2010. No, it's 2008. No, it's 2010. Oh my God, are we talking through time? And then they try and meet because they fell in love through snail mail, magical snail mail. This is a very bad movie. I will watch it over and over and over.
That's crazy.
That
You
sounds
that
like the
movie.
kind of really bad movie that I would watch over and over and over
It's
again.
so bad, but deep down, I'm like, Keanu, love Sandra. Love her. And then, well, of course, then it kicks you in the nuts at the end when it's like, I'll meet you on this day at this time at this place. And the thing I left out was the beginning of the movie. Sandra Bullock's a doctor. It starts with her treating an ICU patient who was hit by a car in front of the hospital while she was on lunch. That guy was Keanu.
Oh,
He tried to meet her that day and failed. So she writes him a letter saying, if you love me, never come meet me. And anyway,
Oh shit.
I'll let you go watch the end of the movie because
Damn, you just blew my mind.
it's such
It's
a
a
bad
cool
movie.
story.
I was-
It's very poorly executed.
Yeah, I
It's
was right there with you the whole time,
it's
though,
a
man. I was
horrible
feeling, I was in the moment with that.
I hope everyone here goes and watches the Lake House
Yeah,
Can,
well,
with their significant other. That can be your Valentine's.
Can I
homework.
ask for some feedback from everybody else out there? Am I the only one who's slightly enjoying Will Smith, Nicolas Cage's way through the latter part of his career, making all of these terrible movies?
We're going straight into movie hour.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I went there.
I was just talking to my son the other night about Will Smith because I was like, so you know who? Because we were watching the Aladdin trailer, and he was like, I was like, so you know who Will Smith is? And I guess you probably know him from Suicide Squad, right? So I'm talking to a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
So I'm like racking my brain thinking, how does my son even know who Will Smith is? He was like, yeah,
kid watch Suicide Squad.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's PG-13.
Is it?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
What?
I showed him the
haven't seen a lot of
Enchantress
movies.
dance at the end of the movie.
He did. He spoiled the ending for me, and that's all I needed.
I was like, this is why you don't need to watch this movie.
I don't know.
He told me it was
That's the whole
15 minutes of Cara
They're
Delevingne.
completely rebooting it
Oh,
Yes.
already. It just
Really?
came out. It won an Oscar, and they're like, yeah, we'll try again.
okay.
Wait, what?
Whole
It won an
separate story.
Oscar?
Yeah, it won an Oscar.
Okay. Good. JC is resident movie expert, obviously.
Yeah,
I
he's the
don't
movie
pay
guy.
attention.
He's the movie guy.
Anyway, how does your kid know Will Smith? Did he know
So-
him from Suicide Squad?
So he knew him from Suicide Squad and then from Men in Black, right?
Of
But I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, dude, I mean, when I was a kid, Will Smith was the fucking Fresh Prince.
Yeah, he was cool.
He was Independence Day.
He was getting jiggy with it.
He was getting jiggy with it. I don't know what the fuck he's doing anymore. You know, he used to be Will Smith. I don't know what he is.
He's very famous, and he has
He did 7 pounds.
drifted.
And he did Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. Oh my God.
I Am Legend was around that time. I think it was before both of them. I think
Mhm.
that was his last
Was that when it started going
very
downhill?
Will Smith movie.
Yeah.
Was I Am like
I
still
Robot
kinda
was
know-
cool. I enjoyed I Robot.
iRobot was all right.
Yeah.
iRobot was all right.
I'd
Why
watched
did
a
I
lot-
enjoy that so much more than you guys? I guess
Did
I'm a lot more
you-
shallow than y'all.
did you
I
watch
watched it 100 times.
No, did you watch a lot of sci-fi movies before I Robot? Like,
And I grew up
how-
on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Okay,
Yeah.
just the whole like Asimov's 3 thing, like 3 laws, sort of trope of that movie. Like, if you knew it was coming, you were like, "Oh, okay."
I guess I don't know.
You knew the ending.
Tell me that.
I've
Like,
always
I'd never
seen-
heard it before, because a lot of people might not have heard that before.
Okay, Asimov's Isaac Asimov was a science fiction author, circa 60s, maybe earlier. He was a progenitor of modern sci-fi. Like everyone will swear, like his worlds he built, sort of.
like H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah, but not for sci-fi. yeah, Lovecraft and his like cult stuff. Like he left his mark in a way that can never be undone. So anyway, Asimov's whole thing was with AI. That was his big footprint on the sci-fi, and he made 3 laws in his book that even today people hold as real world 3 laws that need to be built into robots. I'm gonna fudge all 3 here. It's do not harm humans, cause no harm, do not harm yourself, and I'll forget the third. The big one is do not harm yourself. Maybe it's always follow orders, protect life. I don't know. I don't remember what the actual law is. See, this is why I'm bad at this. But the whole point of iRobot is at the end, it's like, you're not supposed to, violate the laws. And the robot's like, well, I'm not, because to protect humans, I must kill them because they will only do damage to themselves. And that plays out in Asimov's books and everything based on him since then. So that's sort of, that's the trope. Like, I watched it and I knew what the ending was before I saw it. So I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, this is really pretty. Not a groundbreaking great movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
So if you hadn't seen that, it's totally fair that'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
Those ideas, like when you're talking about AI, still to this day, like go listen to Elon Musk talk about stuff.
Right.
And they'll reference 3 laws and Asimov all the time.
I always looked, until JC and I started hanging out again the last couple of years, and you came around and my brain started growing. I just never approached movies from a very deep stance. Just kind of surface level. iRobot was like, oh,
that's fine.
There's an AI element.
Constantine's amazing.
Yeah, there's an AI element.
Amazingly horrible, but amazing.
I love Constantine. I still watch it.
No, I would sit down and watch Constantine. Don't they at the end find the spear that stabbed Jesus? Isn't that the whole thing?
Yeah.
Whatever that thing's called.
The Spear of Destiny. I forgot all about that.
Yeah. That's how weird that movie is oh yeah, this is what killed Jesus. Wait, what? What is this movie about again?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, with the iRobot, it was just like there's robots, and there's the AI element of it, and then there was the way that
Will Smith eating the scene.
Yeah, Will Smith was great. Anyway,
so good.
What's he doing?
Well, I watching the Aladdin trailer. I cannot, but only presume that he is so uber famous and has been for so long that you're talking about Will Smith, who said, no, I don't want to be Neo. Not really sure about this Matrix movie.
Wait, he shot that down?
Yeah, he was the first.
We don't know this shit.
This is why JC's here.
They wrote it for Will Smith. They wrote the Wachowski brothers, which are now the Wachowski sisters. Long story, we won't go there. They wrote that movie, and they had Neo, the one, as Will Smith in mind. And he said, "This is really cool. I don't think people are going to like it. I'm good." Keanu Reeves said,
to be fair, if Will Smith was in that role, that movie would not have worked. That is my genuine belief. Is stone-faced, like no emotion Keanu made that
fits that.
Yeah, like I can't imagine the Fresh Prince pulling off Neo.
Well, he would have just been the dude from Men in Black.
Yeah,
that's it. He would have just been Agent J or whatever from Men in Black.
That movie had to be self-serious.
Yeah, I never thought about that until I considered the contrast of what we're talking about here.
Yeah,
I always thought that Keanu Reeves was unnecessarily
stoic
in that movie. I was kind of annoyed by that. I was like, they could have done something. They could have given somebody with a personality here. They could have done something with that.
Yeah, but that movie is everything but Neo.
But Will Smith would have Agent Jade that thing into oblivion.
He'd have had too much charisma.
Too much charisma.
People wouldn't have cared about Lawrence Fishburne. Like it would have been like, oh,
right.
It's just like I think that's what made him.
He would have been Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black. That's It would have been Men in Black.
Then let's go. Will Smith. Will Smith, who also had Quentin Tarantino write a movie for him.
Which movie is that?
Quentin Tarantino has openly admitted, I wrote Django Unchained for Will Smith. Will Smith read it and went, nah, I'm good. Jamie Foxx, second choice.
Jamie Foxx, better actor.
Jamie Foxx does kill that movie.
Jamie Foxx kills everything he touches.
Amazing. You know he's from Terrell, Texas?
Yeah, he's from Terrell.
Okay.
He's talking about it on his show.
I know. Yeah, I know he does. But just I'm amazed by the number of people who don't.
Jamie Foxx, great sitcom. Will Smith, great sitcom. Jamie Foxx, great musician.
Singer, musician, yeah.
Wait. So what was Jamie Foxx's sitcom?
It was the Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the 90s, yeah. He fucking killed it.
Musician.
I didn't watch
great
TV as a young kid.
Stand-up comedian. Amazing actor. Comedic and serious. What's the one, Collateral, with he's just the taxi driver for Tom Cruise, the whole movie.
Well, and then he did the one where he was the autistic cello player in LA or whatever, the homeless guy.
Oh, yeah. The pianist or the violinist. And then let's not forget Ray.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy can do no wrong.
Why, when you lay it out like that, why Will Smith is Will Smith.
I can't believe you guys have forgotten Jamie Foxx's masterpiece,
What?
Booty call?
White House Down,
Oh.
Oh, no.
with Channing Tatum.
I never watched it.
Because Channing Tatum
I'll
also.
admit.
I was
had
more
his
of an
amazing-
Olympus Has Fallen kind of guy.
Yeah,
go with that.
I'm more of a Gerard Butler fan
Gerard
myself.
Butler and Two-Face. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's the exact same fucking movie.
Yeah, they were identical. They were the
Yeah.
They were
Deep
the ants-
Impact, Armageddon,
yeah.
Olympus Has
Ants,
Fallen,
Bug
White House
Life.
Down.
I
Yeah.
refused. I refused.
No, it was the better one. That was the problem. 'Cause
Really?
I watched Olympus Has Fallen because I think it came out, and then I watched the White House Down. I'm like, God, it's gonna be Jamie Foxx and Channing Tatum just yucking it up. And
You know,
it
but I
was-
like Channing Tatum.
So do I. Magic
yeah.
Mike and Magic Mike XL, hot shit. I watch it
Yeah.
every day.
21 Jump Street, 22 Jump Street.
Yeah, I
that was
died.
when I was
I
like,
did not like 22.
oh, wow.
I like.
I think
21.
he's funnier than Jonah Hill in those movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
His
which
comedic
is
timing's
which doesn't make
amazing.
sense.
Mhm.
You know,
Amazing. Speaking of Django Unchained, he's a great part of that movie.
Is he in it? I haven't seen Django since it came out.
Okay, yeah. He comes in. He's got a very small role
Does he?
in that movie, and he's
Yeah,
amazing
sorry.
in it.
We derailed on the Jamie Foxx. I took it
But-
to Channing.
Will Smith
Yeah.
turns down these great roles of epic movies, which is just only enhancing the point. And he makes things like After Earth,
Yeah, I was trying to remember the name of that movie.
A Winter's Tale. Yeah,
What
he's
the heck is A
probably the
Winter's
best part. A Winter's Tale. don't
After
watch it.
Earth. Oh, that was that terrible one with his son.
He basically made it for his son.
Well, so I was going to say it is what happened to Will Smith. He had kids and his priorities changed. I don't mean that in a horrible way.
no,
not
but
shallow.
I get
but
it, and
yeah.
that's you
Well, no,
know,
when he had kids, roughly is when his
you know,
career
is
shifted.
he the one actor in Hollywood that has his values in order?
Well, the thing is, I think he had kids and suddenly
You
taking
could
these
say
serious
that.
You know what I
emotional
mean?
roles.
It's
You
like-
could say
It's
that.
like, oh, I had kids, and now I'm gonna
Have a platform to build.
have a
them up.
platform to
Pursuit
build
of
them up.
Happiness, 7 pounds, like all those.
You
Came
know what?
like
Yeah.
post children and all that. Like, I wonder if he's like his lens shifted of what he cared about more, and that's why he started focusing on different roles.
I mean, he did write Just the Two of Us for his son,
Yeah,
and then his son's in
yeah.
the video on the piano.
Jeez.
All right, hard fucking shift here.
Let's do it.
Hard shift, and I don't care. Listen, we've got
Right.
it's 4:47 p.m. on
Ready?
Valentine's Day 2019.
You're about to pivot Valentine's Day. I
We're-
actually use the adult potty.
All right, go run to the restroom. JC and I are going to sit here and talk about how
Really hard.
how easy it is to derail a fucking conversation and never get it back on the rails in 2 hours, which is the beauty of it.
I like an organic, long form conversation. There's nothing better.
I do too. I do too. I love it so much. If I didn't have to take my girlfriend to, or didn't get to take my girlfriend to dinner for Valentine's Day,
Mhm.
we could sit here and do this for 3 more hours.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And
Howard doesn't want to argue with me about the origins of Valentine's Day.
I don't want to argue as much as I would like to enlighten, educate, and also just kind of put 2 cents on it that most people don't like to consider. They just
Yeah.
blindly go into these, what we consider now Hallmark holidays, and that's what everybody will call them. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I made the joke earlier,
John
John
Valentine.
Hallmark or John Valentine or whatever. There is a history to these
Yeah.
times, and there's something to it. It's just so convoluted now and polluted with culture and commercialism that it's kind of nice to have a conversation and educate
Yeah.
what it's really about.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to my kids about Christmas, you know, and I was like, as a Christian, I never really appreciated Christmas for what you should consider, you know, how you should celebrate it if it were the birth of Jesus Christ, the patron of the Christian religion.
Mhm.
If that is indeed what it is, and you are a Christian, I mean that day should be the holiest of all days, and it should be like the craziest, most, you know, just insanely celebratory event imaginable. The birth of the Son of God on that day, and you're a Christian. It should be the big.
We're not talking about Santa Claus the whole day.
Yeah, it wouldn't be about Santa Claus all day long. It wouldn't, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be about Christmas shopping. It wouldn't be about any of that shit. If you
wouldn't
were,
be teaching, your kid, what am I going to get? Because I've been good.
yeah,
Be spiritual.
yeah, it would be a spiritual thing. And even as a Christian, even in different Christian churches around different Christian people, I never saw Christmas being celebrated at the level that if I were some pious monk, or, you know, if I really wanted to live my life as a Christian, like
Mhm.
I never saw it celebrated that way. You know what I mean? Never to that extent. Now, as you know, as a pagan, you know, amorphously spiritual pantheistic person that I am, you know, Christmas has a ton of meaning to me as a winter solstice, as the dying off of the old year and the resurrection of the sun at the new year.
Mhm.
You know, and it's something that now with my kids, I share with them, and they get it. They get the gravity of it, because kids understand. They understand nature when they look outside the window and they see the leaves falling off the trees, and then they see, you know, in the springtime everything starts blooming back, and they go out there and, you know, look at the flowers with you and stuff. So when you explain to them that we're just like the earth, we have our cycles, and at the end of the year everything dies off. The elks drop their antlers, and, you know, the leaves fall off the trees, and then all the old stuff from this last year, all the bullshit dies off, and it makes room for the, you know, for the new stuff to grow up, you know, with the new year. So having that discussion and sharing that understanding with my kids about Christmas really made me appreciate, you know, my interest and my beliefs in these, in the connection we have with these holidays,
Mhm.
and the connection that we can have with these holidays if we understand the history behind the holidays. And a lot of times it has to do with natural cycles, which is one of the things that, you know, so-called pagan people of the ancient world are attacked for being, you know, either satanic or sun worshiping or whatever you want to say that they were.
Heretics, burn them all.
Heretics, burn them all. You know what I mean? Fuck it.
I'm sorry, I'm coming back. I thought we were talking about Valentine's Day.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Long way
got
around.
We
it.
talked
Long way
about,
around.
yeah.
We're talking about the importance of understanding.
We're talking about Valentine's Day by way of Game of Thrones and Will Smith.
Yeah.
All right, I
It's the
can do
scenic
this.
route.
It's the scenic route, but no. I mean, Valentine's Day was a celebration of fertility. They were literally auctioning off men and women together and stuff until we had a Pope and the Christian religion come in, kind of argue, you know, when it comes to the Bible, running around naked in the streets, whipping women with goat skins, doesn't quite fit the model we're going for. Can we alter?
Can we dial this back a bit?
Let's change directions here. We'll keep it about.
You
The
quit whipping
church-
people with bloody goat skins.
Yeah, I mean,
You
the church
savage
flat out
fucks.
outlawed any holidays that weren't church holidays at a certain point. The Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just to be very clear historically here. Yeah, they flat out outlawed any holidays that weren't, well, maybe that's too broad a statement, but that's essentially what it was, is any holiday that was not a religious church endorsed holiday of some sort was an illegal holiday. I think I don't know, people turned out to be a little more persistent than I think the church wanted, as evidenced by surviving holidays like Christmas. So the church had to adapt and simply adopt, and what's that term you love so much?
Integrate,
No,
Compromise,
no,
absorb.
no,
pivot.
no. It's wow. I'll think of the term in a minute and I'll just scream it out loud. But anyway, they had to essentially grab that holiday and warp it in a way that it made sense for them.
Mm.
So yeah, like, I mean, it doesn't surprise me when I come up and go, "Hey guys, don't do this," and then people go, "Oh, but we want to party. It's
Yeah.
February. It's cold as hell.
Yeah.
What else am I supposed to do?"
Well, so Saint Valentine's Day, I think the first Saint Valentine's Day was in 496 AD.
Mhm.
So almost 500 years after Christ, after Jesus, whatever. And that was when the Pope came in and was like,
Was it that early?
yeah, it was 496.
Hmm.
And the Pope came in and was like, "Hey, you bunch of heathen fucks, quit running around in the streets butt naked, humping people and whipping young women with goat skin, you know, lashes."
But what are we supposed to do on Valentine's Day? I mean, that's what we do.
Is
I,
it
mean,
just-
I had
I
this
look
scheduled
forward
every
to
year
this
of my
every
life.
year. I want to sacrifice a goat. I want to chase naked women around the street.
Sounds like that. Well, it
When
sounds like
do-
Mardi Gras is what it sounds like.
When
So
else do I get to chase naked women?
they were having Mardi Gras in February, and so one of the things that I thought was interesting was there's a set of purification rituals called the February or February or however you would say that in Latin and Roman times.
Mhm.
And that's where obviously the month February comes from, but the February or Februara or whatever it was is actually a set of purification rituals. And I was reading more about these after we talked earlier, and there's some crazy weird shit that went on. Like the Romans had this.
Color me surprised.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, I shouldn't be, but it was just like one of those things. This whole fucking month of February thing's been around as long as I've been around, right? It's like as long as I've been born, there's been a month of February, and I never stopped to think about what it meant. But for the term to be as directly related to this sort of occultic pagan practice as it is. I mean,
Cleansing and reset.
Cleansing and reset, which I love that.
Mhm.
I love that aspect of.
Definitely got to do it after Saturnalia.
Yeah.
The time of debauchery and filling you up with bad stuff.
Yeah, you take your penicillin shots on Valentine's Day to cure the shit you got on Saturnalia.
I mean, because by then you'll know.
Yeah, by then you should have enough time between Christmas and Valentine's to know that the penicillin needs to show up.
Yeah.
There were these Roman priests that would take 2 young men into a cave, and then they would put a knife on their forehead just enough to create blood, and they would smear blood all over the face, and then they would take wool that was soaked in milk and rub it all over their face, and then they would let the milk and the blood run down the young men's faces, and then the young men were instructed to pretend to laugh hysterically, just to go into these hysterical fits of laughter with blood and milk running down their face.
I mean, that's tied to the founding of Rome.
Romulus and Remus, and raised by wolves in a cave
on the hills.
And I know that we're gonna fucking butcher this. Maybe between the 3 of us, does anyone remember what that Roman holiday was called? Was it
Lupernical?
You guys,
we're the worst.
We're the worst. Hold on.
It's lupus. They've got lupus.
It was loop something. It was Lupercalia.
Lupercalia?
Lupercalia? Look it up. Look
yeah.
the fucking thing up. So, but the point is the root word is
Lupercalia.
Lupercalia.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but
we'll call it Lupercalia. Lupercalia, whatever. Saturnalia.
Saturnalia.
I say Saturnalia, so I'll call it Lupercalia.
Yeah.
So Lupercalia is the word lupus comes from the Greek word for wolf.
I'm gonna sit in the corner saying Saturnalia out loud to myself, deciding which way is the right way. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, lupus is wolf.
Is wolf.
Yes.
And Romulus and Remus, the supposed founders of Rome, were raised by wolves. So Lupercalia is this is in some way associated with wolves. I didn't really ever get how.
They were celebrating the founding of Rome, essentially.
Oh, okay.
So
they're basically saying, here's the birth of Rome. This is the birth of our new year. It's like the beginning of their fiscal year. It's like, here's the birth of our year. Here's the
Lupercalia was a celebration of Romulus and Remus and just that whole thing. And the whole idea was, get ready for the year. It's the reset, the harvest, everything. This festival worshiping the founders and the wolf mother. This is a whole
when the coming
thing.
Of spring, so the end of winter would be the start of a new
all of
cycle.
That is what led to Rome's, according to the popular legend, its prosperity. This festival, of course. And so that was, I think, part of the whole problem was, and the February.
We'll just call it February. I think I saw it spelled in ways where I'm pretty sure you can pronounce it just like the month. It's a direct fucking word.
So that came as part of it.
Every time I hear February now, I'm going to think about
cleansing.
I wish I could think it stopped there, but it's like all these other fucked up rituals that were going on.
That word simply meant cleansing. And so as part of Lupercalia, you were doing a cleansing, and the month got named the month of cleansing because that's when you did it. But I think that was the whole problem with, hey guys, this ain't Christian, get rid of it. And then, Pope, Vatican in Rome, and Greater Rome went, the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
We got to do this. So arguments.
So they would have a parade, probably a whole series of parades. Very Mardi Gras-esque is what I'm getting.
Yeah, from what I've read, it's 2 days of
just of awesomeness.
Yep.
2 days of fucking
debauchery,
right down the middle. 2 days of getting it. Going to Mardi Gras, they have a thing called the shoe parade. They have different. I went to New Orleans one year for Mardi Gras, and they have these different parades, and I was there for the entire week.
That's about the closest thing to modern day.
Yeah, that's Saturnalia. I thought I was thinking Saturnalia. It's pretty much Saturnalia, but all these Roman holidays, it was basically the same thing. Big debaucherous sex and drunk fest. And they have a shoe parade. And in the shoe parade, they have a float that comes down through the streets. And the people on this float have made these shoes. They've taken like these cheap Payless heels, and then they've sequined them, and they've bedazzled them, and they put all kinds of feathers on them, and they make these really decorative little shoes, and they throw them out into the crowd. And so to get a shoe from the shoe parade at Mardi Gras is like a big deal. It's a good luck. It's all this
Hmm.
stuff. And there's all this. I didn't get it when I got there. I was like, the fuck, man, you know, and like
I don't get it now.
my ex-wife got a shoe, and then I had to like talk to people about why she was so excited, and you know what I mean? It was like, what does this mean? What is this shoe about? I don't get it, you know, but the shoe is an important thing. So what I was thinking about when we were reading about this Lupercalia is that they had this parade, and the most powerful and influential men of the time, Mark Antony or Julius Caesar, whoever, would strip down naked, oil themselves up, and grab some whips made out of goat skin, and they'd run around smacking all of the chicks, like run through the parade, and they would and the girls would pretend to get away, and
It's like that episode of Family Guy.
And they would
with the hot greased up deaf guy.
Yeah, and then they would the girls would like pull their skirts up, and all this stuff, and let them swat them on the butt or on the back or on the tits or whatever. It's just Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
You got beads. You know what I mean?
Well, they say I believe it's a fertility thing, but really you're just riling up all the people, right? Getting everybody hot and bothered, and then
Yeah.
of course there's going to be
Yeah, the
fertile.
fertility.
There's going to be some fertile activities that go
Yeah,
on.
some seeds are gonna get planted. You know?
Yeah.
The seeds get planted after this, something like that. So that's what it is. And
I just
I did the same thing with yours.
Okay, well, we learned. They must point out.
I really love how it's gone from this pure debauchery, this primal,
awesome debauchery,
this fertile just party, and everybody looks forward to it, and it's all great. And then, you know, Pope comes in back to, hey, this doesn't really fit into our model
You're
here.
not my dad.
And now
Yeah.
Christianity,
Pope is your dad.
well, it was
Pope's really dad.
shortly after the change of it all, like right before that, Christian religion was legalized in Rome. Like, okay, now it's accepted, now it can be widespread. And so with that change, where they accepted in all of the Christian beliefs in the church, that's when the Pope said, let's meet halfway. You know, they changed to this Saint Valentine, which is, if you look, do your research, somebody tell me which is the appropriate one. But there's about 4 or 5 different stories of which Saint Valentine we're talking
there's
about.
Two Saint Valentines, and then there's like multiple stories about which one did what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very convoluted, but basically like let's go with this narrative here. All right. Then you fast forward to 1800, and now we're mass producing cards with hearts, Cupid.
Well, I think that's a 1900 thing. I think that is John Saint Valentine of the
The first Valentine's card, as I read it, was in the 1400s.
Well, I'm sure there were cards, but he said mass
Just being
producing,
dumb, yeah.
and yeah,
I don't
that's a
know when the
Hallmark
mass production started.
that's a hallmark.
But now you have this holiday where you feel like I mean, all of us have somebody in our lives that we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day with, and I bet all 3 of us have a different opinion on what that is, and that depends on the relationship you have with how you hold culturally to that holiday and the relationship you have with the person you're celebrating it with. But it all now involves money for the most part, right?
Yeah, it's like $127 per person, I think, is something like that. It's what?
Yeah.
What they,
2019 is estimated to make $20 million in profit for the people that make cards, chocolates, flowers. I mean, just on Valentine's Day alone.
Well, this may not surprise you, but I'm a bottom averager there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
It may not surprise you. I have never celebrated Valentine's Day in my life.
Yeah, Ashley and I don't
Like-
celebrate it really. We're gonna go to dinner tonight, but that was kind of a last minute thing.
Sure.
Maybe.
Just-
That's a lie.
Went
I'm
to
sure there was a high school girlfriend I bought a teddy bear for.
Yeah, I'm sure in high school we all did that.
I've had
There's a lot of
plenty of
pressure.
relationships where I did the whole spend tons of money and poured it into a relationship just to impress or whatever, for whatever reason.
I can
But
tell you for sure the second I left high school it went. And why?
it's just funny how it
Yeah.
went from this celebration of life and starting new and fertility and partying and this bringing together all these people in this fun event that everybody looked forward to, and now it's like, oh shit, it's Valentine's Day. Did I get the right
Well, yeah,
gift?
yeah.
Did
We
I
went
do the
we
right thing?
went from the ultimate case of letting loose and letting it flow and just having a good time to tension and anxiety and doing things within this regimented sort of way.
Yeah.
It's like, I've got to buy you a heart-shaped box of chocolate flavored candies and give you flowers that are going to cost $100 and die in 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just got to fit this regimented thing, or buy you a $3,000 necklace made of particular jewels and precious metals that have been pumped up through blood money. And
what someone else says. Like, everyone has this idea of, I've been told this is what I should do.
Well, I
hold on to it.
I saw a real neat little video the other day that was just talking about the marketing push for De Beers and diamonds and stuff in the 50s, and like, and how it all worked.
Yeah.
And like, you're totally right.
No, literally everyone should go read the marketing story of De Beers. It's not a secret. And they are the ones, for all you guys out there, and maybe even girls who care, it says like 1 month's salary. And it's all right. And that became 2 months' salary. And that became 3 months' salary for an engagement ring. And the not so secret is that in South Africa, in Kimberley, there is a Fort Knox that is holding diamonds greater than any you've seen in a K jeweler, and they just stockpile them and they inflate the market price of diamonds, because they could throw them, like, there are more diamonds are more readily available than gold is in the world.
Yeah,
like, they could flood the market and let it go, but they don't, because there's only this one at this counter at K, and this is the one that your wife needs, because
you're not going to find another 7-carat stone cut
and,
like this.
And it doesn't matter that this one next to it's just as pretty. You make $200K a year, you have to buy this.
You have to buy this
so
one.
If you make $200K a year,
that's the formula.
Pity you for buying expensive diamonds. But yeah, like, I just the marketing push of capitalism and just all of it.
We went from
I'll talk about this part of Valentine's Day.
Having a big drunken sex fest parade,
celebrating life, new life, fertility,
and the coming of the new spring, which I think is important to be clear that was a huge part of it. Was like, hey, it's winter, everything died off. We're still here. We're still here. And we're starting to prepare for the earth to replenish, for the flowers and the grass and the trees, everything to sprout leaves. The rabbits are going to come out and start fucking. We're going to have little baby rabbits running around everywhere. Like, there was this connection with the earth and with the natural order of things that people were celebrating. And I think that's what I always come back to with the shamanism, with the pagan, so-called pagan cultures of the world. Is, I got a poor connection notification. Why would I get one of those? But we went all the way. We went all the way from that to this hyper commercialized bullshit situation. I think that it would be cool.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, if you follow each step, you can totally see the logical process of how it happened. It's not. It's not some crazy conspiracy of like, it's like. No.
I'm not saying it's a conspiracy, because a conspiracy means that a small group of people got together, came up with a plan, and executed that.
There's
plan.
A large group of people who all agreed to a new plan, which was a bad plan.
Yeah. I think a small group of people conspiring to do something is bad, but having a series of people over hundreds or thousands of years.
Yeah, society agreed
just
that this
taking
was a better value, which is weird.
Well, you could say society agreed. I wouldn't disagree with you, because we could say yes. Consent.
I would have an argument. I would have a position where I just get to sit here and it would be all on you to prove me wrong with that one.
No. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I just think that semantically it matters to say that when society agrees on something, what do we accomplish in a conversation by saying that? Because I didn't agree for Donald Trump to become president, but he did. So it's sometimes there are things that happen at a level above the average person's. Hey guys, oh fuck, that's all right. I'll just restart it for a minute, because we only got about 10 more minutes. So the point is that you say society agreed that was like, we were going to go from
social norms shifted, and that does happen at the level of everyone.
It does. No, Donald Trump becoming president was not a social norm shifting.
I'm sorry. Do you not remember when Schwarzenegger became governor of California and everyone went, "Oh, this is just opening the gates," and most people went, "It's okay." Like, do you not remember when what's his face, Jesse Ventura?
Jesse Ventura was the best governor of Minnesota ever.
Hey,
And Arnold
but-
Schwarzenegger was not a bad
He
governor.
was not a bad one. And guess what?
And-
That became okay. And then Trump ran and went, can you believe Trump's running? And it went, oh, well, you know, it's just another celebrity running. Maybe he's got some decent ideas. I'm saying norms change slowly and imperceptibly.
And
I think
people.
the only thing I'm trying to point out, and I don't even think he would disagree with this, is the Catholic Church is fucked and they fuck everything up. That's all I'm trying to say.
Sure.
That's all I'm trying to get
Sure.
at. Is that yes, people did accept what they were fucking, the shit that they were handed on a goddamn plate. And they were said, like, okay, listen, you used to have this big party fuck fest called Lupercalia.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah, but
You can forget about that
You
shit.
can't do that anymore.
That doesn't happen anymore. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna not do that, and we're gonna celebrate this Christian saint Valentine,
Mhm.
right? Who is another form of a savior of yours, because he was performing weddings whenever the Roman general at the time or whatever wasn't allowing weddings.
Marrying in secret. And
Mar-
everything.
They were
Yeah.
marrying in secret, and Saint Valentine was marrying
But
people.
You also got to remember that like the Catholic Church is the same church that said, "Oh, by the way, if you buy this ticket, it's a ticket to heaven. You can buy off your sins." And people went, "Ah, hell yeah!" And
Yeah,
when-
yeah.
That's not just the Catholic Church. Everyone else agreed to it. That made the Catholic Church so much money for a century.
What did they call those things? There was a name for those.
Yeah, they had a
The
weird-
payments.
yeah.
It was built on.
Yeah, it was essentially you bought a charm, and that charm was that
Yes.
was sin forgiveness. Instead of
Ye-
saying 200 Hail Marys, you could buy a charm and it did it.
Fuck. What is that called? Anyway,
Yeah, someone
but they
knows.
did. They would charge people to
But-
pray
but-
for their dead child or whatever, and
Yeah,
say you can
but-
pay
and
me more
people
money.
bought them, and so like.
But
that's
see,
not-
here's where you
can't
and I
just
are on the
say-
same page about something that a lot of people are not. Right? Is I'm like, hey, that's all fair.
Yeah.
That's all fair. Because if you can convince, I've always said you deserve anything you can convince someone to give you.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yep. All right.
That's it.
And they did it very well for a very long time, and it's gone on so long that it's influenced our cultures. And I think the thing that I've taken away from learning so much about this holiday and the things that we've talked about with Christmas and everything is that we're not asking or telling anybody that to go back to running naked in the streets, whipping people with goat hides is the way to do things right. But
I'm not saying it's not the right way either.
all I'm saying
I
is
am.
it
because
is
I would
nice.
like to get home on time, and if that happened in Dallas, I would never get home.
Yeah, that's true.
It would shut down Greenwood.
Yeah.
I just like the fact that we can point out in a conversation the roots of where something started and the symbolism of it to make people that are listening and people that are interested think about the holiday a little bit differently than I've got to buy these flowers,
Yeah.
I've got to buy these chocolates, I've got to buy these diamonds, I've got to do everything right. And you've got to start to think about, no, this is more a celebration of life.
That's it.
It's more of a celebration of fertility. It is about love. It is about sharing and connecting with the person that you love, but try to think about it in a bigger picture than it's got to be. I've got to have that Instagram post of us having that steak dinner. I've got
Yeah.
to have that big reveal, that big present. No, celebrate who you love, why you love them. Get ready for this spring that's coming. Don't necessarily buy into all these tropes that are modern cultural. Culture is not your friend.
Yeah.
That's what I love about talking about these origins of holidays.
JC, you're gonna be such the peacemaker on these conversations, aren't you?
I-
'Cause
Well,
you
that's literally why he's here.
I am
You
I
just
am
wrapped it up in
Sweden
some-
right now, man. I am Sweden.
So to be fair,
yeah.
I'll lean in with you, and that goes into the iconography of roses. The whole point of roses is you could get fresh flowers. If you could get beautiful fresh flowers. Now
Mhm.
there are rose farms nowadays that just churn them out by February. But like the idea of flowers on Valentine's Day was the new life, the new birth, the spring, the coming of all of that.
Mhm.
So there are still pieces of that do exist.
Sure. And I
Um,
would say take your date to the Arboretum and look
There
at
you
some
go.
pretty flowers that are
Definitely
going to
should do that.
live and stay happy, and do not support the dying
No.
of all of these expensive roses that
I
you
will
feel
admit,
culturally inclined
I went into
to
Whole
buy.
Foods to pick up one thing, and they were like, "You can get 24 roses for like $20." I was like, "Man, that's a good deal." What
Yeah.
am I doing? What am I doing? No.
No. Celebrate your loved ones, celebrate Valentine's Day, but think about it in a bigger picture than what we all get caught up in the rat race of comparing your Valentine's Day to your friend's Valentine's Day. And if your partner is caught up in it has to be big and it has to be ritual. Have the conversation, that we're having now, and talk about.
Say, like, stop being a petty bitch.
Yeah, yeah. In whatever way that conversation has to take place, and just get back to the core of things. And if you do that with Valentine's Day, and you do that with St. Patrick's Day, you do it with Christmas, you'll find a different understanding and a different meaning for these things. And I think it just definitely helps with the growth of yourself along with the people that you're around. And it's an important conversation.
Yeah, I think it matters. All of these, for me, it always goes back to these kind of where this channel comes from. The whole shamanic thing, the whole pagan bullshit thing is we have a connection to the earth. I think that connection.
Sorry, every time you say pagan, I'm gonna say burn 'em.
Yeah. Howard's the burn the pagan guy. It's like the Vanna White of burning the pagans, right there. Look, there he is.
Yeah, that's it.
Burn the fucking pagans.
Me and Pope Francis.
Yeah.
Besties.
of
Actually, I
course.
think he'd be cool to have a beer with.
Oh God, the
Maybe
pedophile.
Wine, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
These stories always go back. When I think about holidays, I always think about the cycles of the earth, the circadian rhythm, and the human connection to the cosmos and to nature. And when I look at ancient cultures, who I feel like in a lot of cases did things, I'll just say right. What I really mean is they did things in a way that they studied over a long period of time to be beneficial to the maintenance of virtuous aspects of human character, right? When done in a a non-solo setting, right? In a societal way, right? So you got a group of people, 10 or 100 people or 300 people. They were like, hey, we've noticed that like everything is born, has a peak, and then it dies. And the sun does that every single day. And the moon does it every night, more or less, with its own cycles and whatever. And there seems to be a cycle of life that happens in all things, and all things seem to be connected. And maybe if we remind ourselves of these cycles, and we remind ourselves of these different phases of these different cycles, then we can keep ourselves harmonically in tune with the universe, with the earth, with the cosmos, with the sun, with the moon, with the seasons and all that kind of stuff. And so when I look at holidays, inevitably, when you look back into the history of these different holidays, you're going to find that these different ancient cultures all over the world had figured stuff like this out. And they were all doing fertility rituals and stuff and celebrations around this time of year, end of winter, early spring, or whatever. And I think that connecting with that stuff, reconnecting with that stuff is potentially impactful in our lives. That's what I think. It
Absolutely.
has been in mine and my family and some of my friends. I think that reconnecting with that, even doctors talking about your biological clock, your biological alarm clock, waking up at a certain time, tuning your body, like wake up with the sun and go to sleep at a certain, whenever the sun goes down or whatever it is, tuning into that stuff is helpful. I think it's nourishing, and it creates a harmonic sort of resonance in our psyche and our spiritual thing in our body and all that. And that's why I think that's why I wanted to do this episode on Valentine's Day, even though Howard wanted to fucking burn the pagans.
I mean, just my least favorite part of Valentine's Day, and this is the part that I swear lasts a week after Valentine's Day, is people coming and going, God, Valentine's Day, I spent $200 on some thingy. I'm like, why'd you do it?
Yeah.
Why'd you do it? Why did you go out and spend $200 on a reservation downtown at a restaurant you didn't want to go to, and then deal with that traffic and that parking just because someone told you had to? Did it make you feel better? Like, and to tie on what you said, I genuinely like even more than because open book here, you tie into nature thing, not necessarily my thing, but I will get behind the idea of listen to yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do Valentine's Day, don't do it. Like, have a conversation with your partner and just go, hey, why are we doing this?
Why are we doing this?
Is this just because like we have nothing else to do in February and this is our night out? That's great. Do it the 25th. Do it the 15th.
And this may be a good time to say that, like, if nothing else in your relationship with your significant other, you should both be able to agree on the fact that you don't want to do shit just to please other people.
Sure.
Like that should be like the most fun, one of the most fundamental things.
If you are going out on Valentine's Day night, just so that the next day you can brag to other people about which restaurant you went to, it's probably the wrong thing to be doing on Valentine's Day. Like that just seems so obvious to me, but I don't think a lot of people give it thought. I think it's just so built into that day comes around in the same way Thanksgiving comes around and Christmas comes around. People are like, okay, it's the day I got to go to my parents. It's the day I got to go to this.
It is. It's this,
the routine.
It's a compulsory.
Well, yeah. And you pick up that routine at the age of 10 because your parents make you do it. And your school says, oh, everybody bring your Valentine's cards and throw them. By the time you get out of school, you've got that routine built in you.
Yeah.
And I think it's so very obvious, yet so very hard to consciously think about that routine and just snap it.
So would you say, as far as your takeaway on this, we're gonna wrap this up.
Okay.
So you personally, your takeaway, something along the lines of just fucking be true to yourself and your partner, and y'all do what makes sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that Valentine's Day was coming around unless other people brought it up. If you hadn't brought up this podcast, I would have forgot. Well, and also if you hadn't told me you were going to get boba at lunch, and I was like, okay, now I'm jelly. I should celebrate Valentine's Day. I wouldn't know the day existed because it doesn't mean anything to me and my partner. We do other things. We have other days that matter to us, and we celebrate those days.
So let's celebrate more days throughout the year with our significant other instead of relying on one day. Out of 365 days,
not the crux of your relationship.
This should not be the crux of your relationship. Should not come down to this one particular day.
This is your anniversary.
And I would even argue that maybe even having that one day. This is just me, my thoughts. Maybe just even having that one day is probably, in my mind, could be a bad thing. If you have that one day that you think it's all hinged on, could it potentially remove you from the mindset of like, thinking
the
like
rest
that,
of the days matter less.
It does.
I nailed it.
Right.
Got 365 days.
Right. Is that
if
right?
That's your mindset in your relationship.
No, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel that same way too.
Yeah.
And like Ashley and I do a lot. She does a lot for me. I do a lot for her. Like all year long, we try to do little shit, big shit, medium shit, everything in between. Right. You know, whether she buys me some fucking shortcake rolls that, I probably shouldn't be eating. And she's like, hey, I got you. You know what I mean? You do little things for each other. Then you do big things for each other. And then Valentine's Day rolls around and you start hearing the stories of people who, oh, my boyfriend took me to this beautiful dinner and then whatever. And you're like, but, I mean, shouldn't he have been taking you to dinner every once in a while anyway?
Yeah.
Shouldn't he have been getting you flowers every once in a while anyway? And like, you start to see I don't want to call him.
If you're waiting on somebody to make something up to you because it's Valentine's Day, then you're not finding that proper balance.
Yeah.
And I think the whole point of this conversation is, society has these milestones and these dates that come on, and we're not saying that we have a different set of rules, but we just have a different way of thinking about these things.
Different way of thinking about it.
That's all it is. It's just a different way of thinking about these things, and it's questioning why you're thinking about them the way you're thinking about them. Because if you're putting a whole lot of stock into stuff like this, you're probably putting stock into something that's fabricated or changed so much fundamentally from what it really truly was.
And it's an artificial thing.
Yeah.
It's an artificial thing.
Fake things don't bring happiness.
Fake things don't bring happiness. Fake things bring fake happiness.
That's
that works too. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. Is that doing fake shit to get your happiness is going to bring you fake reward. Fake. Oh wow. There's a Socrates level quote in there that we gotta. Socrates probably already said something like that, but
see. I can make this into a.
We'll figure it out.
Can you?
Fake holidays are fool's gold. There's enough random words in there.
Fake holidays are fool's gold.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it.
Great.
Will you be my Valentine?
I will be your Valentine.
Howard, will you be my other Valentine?
Define Valentine.
He's a smarter guy than me. Are we talking anal or is?
How far do I have to go? And what do I get out of this?
So, be true to yourself. Be true to your partner.
Oh, geez.
Don't do shit to please culture and society.
Hey guys, it's 5:30 on Valentine's Day. My wife's gonna yell at me.
Yeah, we're going right now. We're wrapping this up.
Yep.
And for at least myself, and we can say that certainly Howard doesn't agree with this necessarily. But being in touch always goes back to being in touch with nature, being in touch with the earth, being in touch with the cosmos, being in touch with.
No, I agree with that, but I think you should do it every day.
For sure.
Well, shit. Then never mind.
Well, yeah,
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, then every day. Yeah, every day. Every day. Well, shit. All right.
Well,
so
shit.
you got it.
That's why I didn't want to have the Valentine conversation.
Well, we could have.
We could have just had a conversation about how the earth is round.
We were talking about White Walkers.
If we had a conversation about how the earth is round, we'd start a different argument.
Yeah. We'd inevitably have one person in chat that didn't agree.
That's fine. I can take that other side. I can do it.
So guys, go out there and be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. And whatever the fuck you do on this Valentine's Day, just do it because you want to do it. Because it makes you happy and your significant other happy.
I think everyone should take every holiday they care about throughout the year and then just move it one holiday back. So celebrate Valentine's Day on Easter and celebrate Easter on 4th of July.
Do it on your own terms.
They're roughly,
Not societal
do it on your own terms.
Just
do it your way.
For me,
just see the looks.
What I'll say is for me, Christmas everything's wintry, everything's dead. It's a good time for me to celebrate the solstice and the dying off of all the old shit. It's easy, right? So it's harder for me to celebrate fertility at a time when all the leaves are dead and all that kind of shit. Again, that's why I think the natural cycles, observance of the natural cycles,
Fair enough.
They're in line with it. It goes back to that when you look at a picture of a tree, you know, with all of its luscious fruit and leaves and all that stuff, it gives you a certain feeling. When you look at a tree that doesn't have all its leaves and all of its fruit, it gives you a different feeling. Again, I think our connection's embedded deep in us.
I accidentally cracked this podcast back up.
Yeah, I don't want to crack it back open. We gotta go.
Let's put a bow on it, guys.
Yeah, all right,
Let's put a bow on this
So
conversation.
we're signing off. Thanks for tuning into the Wayfinder podcast with Howard, JC, and Adam. Go to the YouTube channel, pretty please. It's the Shamanic Philosophy channel. You can find the Wayfinder podcast on there. Also on the iTunes and SoundCloud, you can find us under the Wayfinder podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, support, do all that kind of stuff. The Patreon's upcoming. And we appreciate you guys. So in the meantime, may the light be upon you. May peace be within you. And may you be a son on the paths of all men. Peace out. Love you guys.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.